Hello, everybody. What is going on? Tasteless here with State for the round of 16 now of the RSL. How you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling electric, dude. I cannot wait to get started. We wrapped up the group stages of the RSL Season 2 last week, and now moving on into the first stage of this double elimination bracket. We got some really exciting matchups ready for you guys, and dude, I am just completely stoked to be back here. It's been an excellent Season 2 thus far.
It's been great. We're kind of powering through this season, but, you know, it's been a treat to be doing RSL here. We've got two amazing matches for you guys here today. We're on, obviously, today, Thursday, but we're going to be back on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the very next block of 4 days, we're going to be wrapping up this tournament. So please feel free to join us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can join us live. If you're watching live and you can't keep up with all these days, you've got other obligations, you can always join us on our YouTube as well.
Absolutely, and we look here at the roadmap for the RSL Revival. If you guys missed it, not only do we have one more season coming up later this year, but an offline finals. That means players, casters, live audience, all in the same arena is going to be happening December of this year with a 15 million Korean won prize pool. I was so stoked when I heard this get announced, man.
I know. We've been working on this.
Looking forward to it.
We've been working on this for a long time. So we're in the middle of Season 2. We will have a Season 3 in the November area of the year. And then we're going to close out the whole year with a big offline event. We've been looking around at various live venues here in Seoul. The players will be there in person. The casters will be there in person. And you can be there in person as well. For the higher tiers on the Patreon, you automatically get a ticket. Otherwise, we'll have tickets for sale. More information on that as we iron out these dates and get everything ready for that to go. We're also sponsored by Archon Studio. These guys are making the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game, but it isn't just that. Go to their website. They've got a bunch of incredible products. These guys are the premier tabletop miniatures game company in the world. Their game for StarCraft is going to be on pre-sale later this year. I am super excited to check it out. But all this stuff on their website is amazing. So please give them some love. Check out their products. We love what they're doing, and we really appreciate them supporting StarCraft II.
Of course, and we have a big community here on Patreon. A lot of folks have already supported, and if you want, you can join them as well. There are tons of different perks that you guys can get delivered to you. Voting rights for the maps, voting rights for players invited into the RSL every season. Replays are going out, I think, every week as well. It's just a superb package.
We actually got some feedback that, like, in our heads, we thought, okay, well, when the show's all done, then we'll dump the replays. But a lot of people wanted to study them early or make their own content around them. And we thought, okay, fair enough. We're open to any feedback. So for Season 2, it's going to be weekly replay dumps. So you're going to get those very, very quickly. Yeah, consider signing up. This is where StarCraft II is going to have to be anchored in, is community support. Like State said, we've had tons of people signing up. Join us in our endeavor here to keep high-quality, well-produced StarCraft II tournaments alive.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. And as an added bonus, if you want to support us on Patreon, you also get a 20% discount on all Tasteless TV merch at tastelessthreads.com. And that includes not just Tasteless TV stuff, but also RSL Revival hoodies, mugs, shirts, even pins, Tasteless.
I know people were saying at home, but what about pins? Hey, put a pin in it, okay? We've got all sorts of great merch. I already saw some guys when I was in the Esports World Cup wearing RSL Revival shirts. That was really cool to see.
I had no idea.
Yeah, there's a couple people in the audience, so it was nice to meet some of the people that are already supporting the show. But yeah, 20% off if you're a Patreon supporter at tastelessthreads.com. RSL products, other merch stuff that I've got on there as well.
And if you also want to catch the action, if you can't tune in live, there's a lot of StarCraft coming at you. It's kind of hard to get a grasp on everything. Go to youtube.com/@ReviveSC2. Our team has done an excellent job of putting together spoiler-free VODs in playlists. They're relatively quick at getting them out as well. Go ahead and check it out. We would love to make this YouTube big. It's already going well, but I think it can be even better. And, you know, building up the Revive SC2 YouTube is going to help us reach additional members of the StarCraft II community, get everybody clued in on exactly what we're producing, the awesome games that are being played here. So even if you're watching everything live, we would still appreciate your support going to the YouTube, checking it out.
Yeah, if you can like the videos and get people on board with that, that's going to help us get to more people. I think a lot of people still don't know this tournament is happening yet.
And we take a look at the bracket here. Cure versus Shin and Reynor versus Zoun here in the winter quarterfinals are going to be the two best of fives coming at you today, but there's a lot more in the pipeline as well. Trigger and Classic Maru and Byun going to be coming at you tomorrow. As it's a pretty tough matchup, dude. Cure versus Shin, one of the best Terran players in Korea, one of the best Zerg players in Korea, and Reynor versus Zoun as well. Zoun has been really impressing me lately, but Reynor, his ZVP looks absolutely incredible. Was able to take down Classic, the reigning RSL champ, second place EWC in the group stages. It's going to be a stellar day.
So we've got a winner's match, winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. I think when I opened the show, because I've been casting ASL at the same time, I think I said we're in the round of 16, which makes no sense. Sorry, wrong tournament. These are all bleeding together in my brain. We're going to have some of these players move on into the winner's semis, and then the other players will go down to the loser's bracket. Quick reminder to everybody who's watching, last season we just had like a big best of 7. We talked about it, and we tried to figure out how do we actually improve this tournament. And of course, the format was something that came up because if you come from the loser's bracket, you should have some sort of a disadvantage, right? The winner's bracket guy, he got all the way to the grand finals flawlessly. So what we're going to do is this finals will be a best of 7. If the winner's bracket guy wins that, it's over. He's the RSL Season 2 champ. If he loses that, we do a reset into an intense best of 3.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. It's double elimination tournament. If you make it all the way to that grand finals without dropping a series, getting that final extra life in a best of 3 can make all the difference. And, should we actually get to that? It's going to be a nail-biting best of 3.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So we're going to start this off here with Cure versus Shin. This is going to be, I think, a tough one to call. I think both of our matches should be pretty close, but Cure versus Shin, maybe slightly Cure favored. He's looked really scary as of late, but Shin has been in great form.
Yeah, Shin was able to advance from her group with Maru, Mana, and Max Pax, which is pretty intense on paper, and you would think that it would give us a bit of a clue as to where his ZBT is at, but Maru actually played Protoss in that series and was able to take Shin down, so this is the first ZBT we're going to be seeing from Shin here in the RSL Season 2 as our map is finally loaded up. Botanical is going to be where we play map number 1 of this best of 5, and in the bottom right, the red Terran, it is Cure. The top left, the blue Zerg, it is Shin.
Okay. So Cure, I mean, this guy, at times, it seems like it doesn't matter what happens to him in the early game. His TVZ is so robust, it's so strong. And I'm not one of the casters that tends to check Aligulac a lot to get a feel for what this is, but it feels like these guys have had a somewhat close record, but Cure tends to just kind of come out on top. Shin, formerly known as Ragnarok, has been an extremely strong player, but Cure is basically one step behind Maru when it comes to all the Terrans, and not just Korea, but Asia in general.
Yeah, and I think just stylistically even, I have to give a little bit of an edge here to Cure, because, when I think of Shin, and I think of especially his games back when he went by the moniker of Ragnarok, I think of a very aggressive Zerg. I think of a Zerg that doesn't really want to play the late game in any matchup in particular. He's certainly capable of doing it if he gets there, but he doesn't necessarily want to. I feel like his strength, it really relies on his control, on his aggressive posturing, the way that he's able to play the early game and especially the mid game with these powerhouse compositions is so critical, but Cure is kind of the same way. I feel like Cure is maybe even a little bit more well-rounded, where in a variety of matchups, his early game, his mid game is phenomenal, but he can also go to the late game if need be. And I think just given that head-to-head, stylistically, Cure to me is just a little bit stronger in the mid game, and the fact that that's really Shin's strength from my perspective. Yeah, I do think that Cure probably has an edge here, maybe 60-40.
Yeah, like a 6-4 matchup, something like that. I think back to when I was casting with Reynor last season, and there was a game where Cure, he had a failed fight in the early game, and usually 1 or 2 of those means that the Zerg can't ever overpower. I'm sorry, the Terran can't ever overpower the Zerg. Lo and behold, I mean, he just powered through and ended up kind of forcing a win because he's just so strong at these pushes and knowing when to kite, when to dive in, and when to pack it up and go back home or relocate. The Reaper's going to come through here now. No drone kills so far. And back at home for the Terran, we're probably going to see a 1-1-1. We can confirm that once the factory's done and the starport starts.
Yeah, man, that Reaper almost went down.
Yeah.
4 HP. Shin trying to fish for a kill right there with the Queen. And that's going to allow him to safely get this third hatchery up in just a moment, as just as Taste has predicted, third command center coming in right now for Cure. And I think you're absolutely right. We're going to have some fast tech up, factory and starport, probably getting some map control early on with Hellions, maybe even with Cyclones later on, and some starport units. And behind it, a ton of economic greed.
Yeah, I think this is a great build as long as you know how to stop cheeses and any kind of weird timing attacks. This is one of the strongest builds in the game. Get that third CC up, get your tech up. You're going to have this huge explosion of barracks, and that's going to be your muscle on the map. Right now, it looks like Cure is just roaming, trying to see if he can get any information out here on the map. So I don't think we're going to have any real fights coming up here. Maybe when the Terran can get 2 medevacs, we might see some roaming on the map. But this is really going to be about Terran getting up to 3 bases, pushing out on the map, Zerg trying to secure that 4th tech up. And if the Zerg isn't killed there, we're going to go into late game ZVT.
Yeah, and I'm curious what the composition is going to be here for Curious. He's actually opting for the Viking here before Banshee. Just going to try and clear up that Overlord that we see on the minimap just in the bottom right corner of Curious Basin. Whoa, actually getting really bold with these first 2 Hellions. I guess knowing that, or at least suspecting that Zergling speed is not done. Kira thought about moving into that natural expansion, getting a clue of exactly how many drones we have mining from there, how greedy Shin is being, but with those lings, Shin able to deny that scouting straight away.
Yeah, he's going to get that Viking out, kill this Overlord here in the back. I don't think he's going to see too much. The most important thing to spot would be the 3rd command center or all of this infrastructure. I don't think he could even see the edge of the tech lab. So, yeah, I mean, that doesn't show you anything. Terran is going to have 2 gases at that point in time. Now, if he sends a Zergling out or something up to the front, you can see the 3rd command center, and that's the other way to tell. But for now, we have the Hellions and the Reaper in the middle of the map to check here. 1 ling on the far right is going to come down and see that CC. And from there, Shin knows it's going to be a slow game.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering exactly... Okay, there we go. 2 more factories coming in. I saw that double refineries is the natural expansion. I was wondering where Kira was going to be going with this, because that's a lot of gas to have early on, and it looks like we're probably going to be getting some flavor of mech. Now, is it going to be battle mech, which is all the rage right now and has been for a very long time, or are we going to get something a little bit more Maru-esque with a siege tank-heavy composition?
Yeah, so I guess I was wrong. I thought you would have 2 gases then, but if that is early, then, yeah, I mean, he might know that this is actually going to be mass factory play. Mech is very, very popular right now. More popular than it even has been in some times in the past.
Yeah, more Banshee production continuing right now. Shin just continuing to power up. Doesn't know exactly what the build order is here for Cure, although I think, if there isn't medevacs coming out shortly here with Bio, it is almost certainly going to be a factory-based play, and I believe the lack of any kind of bio presence on the map right now is going to be telegraphing that here for Shin as he comes forward with 1 more lane, gets a bit of a scout off, sees only 2 Marines here on the front, and of course Cure could be hiding more in the natural expansion, but I think he's getting a very good idea of exactly what's happening, and certainly these 2 Cloak Banshees are probably going to telegraph that even further.
So Cyclones being accumulated. Oh, that's too bad that Cure, for his sake, misses that. We do have a couple snipes in the drones, but the 4th base is going to be started. If these Banshees go back over to the side, they could try to come in here and deny this hatchery, but in fact, the hatchery isn't going to be spotted. And so, I imagined when I saw the 3rd CC come down here that this was going to be the classic 3cc Terran play, which is going to be bio and then pushes. But this is going to look very different. So this is going to be kind of a mobile aggro mech style. You've got Hellions, you've got Cyclones. We don't have any tanks yet. I don't know that you need tanks yet, but the kiting is going to be brutal, especially when you think that there's going to be so many melee units here for Zerg. I guess at the same time, though, Lings are, if they can get flanks, this could be okay.
Yeah, and probably the most exciting feature of this build for me coming in from Cure is Hyperflight Rotors finishing up in just a couple seconds. He's looking to mix Banshees into this composition very significantly. There's no Banshee cut just yet. And now those things, if we get a shot of the Banshees here in a moment, will be moving so quickly. It pairs incredibly well with Cyclone and Hellion. Just every single unit that Cure has is going to be moving at an incredible pace as Ling run by getting some big connections here in the natural expansion, but so far only 5 SCVs in fact going down as Cure just had the rally point perfectly set there to intercept these Lings. Baneling actually getting a big connection here in the center too. Look at that, Hellion's going down, but I must say, even though it feels like Shin, he's getting these initial jumps on Cure with the run by there, the 3rd base with a surround coming in here in the center of the map. on the Cyclones, on the Hellions. The actual damage hasn't been that substantial. 5 or 6 SCVs going down, you don't really mind that right now as Cure, with a 4th command center underway, with a super fast 3rd CC done, and a couple of Hellions, and maybe 1 Cyclone falling in the center of the map. You don't mind that either. Your composition already here is so powerful, and oh man, if you can get that Infestation Pit, it would go a long way towards slowing down SHIN.
Yeah, the Hydras come up. They're going to push those Banshees out. SHIN's going to be on a 5th base here in the upper right, and so far Cure hasn't made a dent in the position here of SHIN.
I kind of feel like he doesn't really need to, though, Tasteless. He hasn't gotten that much damage done, but with the greed of Cure's build and the powerful composition that he's building, he can play this kind of economy of scale game with SHIN. You look at the worker counts, it's a 12-worker difference, but the moment we have a 4th command center land, and of course we have those 3 mules that are going to be dropping from the orbital commands, the incomes are going to be very equivalent, and the cost efficiency for Cure with this battle mech army, especially coupled with the speed Banshees, is going to be keen.
So the Banshees are still roaming here, forcing Zerg to try to defend in this location here in the back. We've got 3 Infestors coming up, and I think the idea, especially if you can get Burrow here, would be to ambush these Cyclones with Fungal and then just try to collapse on them. And that's when, you know, the game could completely snowball here, and Zerg could have counterattack potential and come back and really hurt the Terran.
Yeah, SHIN is really playing this with a mid-game focus in mind. More Lings, more Banelings in production. Hive Tech only just now starting at 9 minutes and 25 seconds, so a very late tech up to Hive, basically waiting until he's maxed and fully saturated on 4 bases before going for that tech tree. And, ooh, actually, is that all of the Banshees that got caught there in the corner of the map? I wonder if there was like a Fungal or something that we missed. Yeah, 4 Banshees going down, Tasteless.
Yeah.
Those Banshees are one of the key units that you use to actually snipe the Infestors and prevent those Fungals from taking place. So that is a big win for SHIN.
Yeah, nicely done. The Lings are going to come around here, and they're just fast enough. We're going to have a full surround. No Fungals needed. Everything from Cure is going to fall there.
Wow, SHIN is playing a great game. These last few minutes have been phenomenal for him, catching every single Banshee in the main base, really limiting the option there for Cure to try and snipe down those Infestors, and then also getting the full surround on that Battle Mech squadron in the top right corner of the map. Cure, he is able to get some counter damages in over here at the 10 o'clock expansion, but that is not the cost efficiency that you're looking for here from Cure, and now SHIN is getting aggressive. He is getting really bold on the map.
It's funny, you know, because you think of Bio and they remix really fast, but honestly, Cyclone Hellion can be remade pretty quickly. You know, it's very mineral intensive here. But from now, it seems like SHIN's got to push. The Cyclones are going to try to kite, but they don't have that much more room to retreat before the Hydras and the Banelings can start to hit this command center.
Yeah, there is just so much momentum behind SHIN right now. But as you see the reinforcements here for Cure, it seems like he's starting to get some control over the situation here at the 4th base. The Planetary Fortress is nearing completion. Infestors also joining in. Banshee is going to retarget from the Hydras onto the Infestors. Cure, he's able to hold, but behind this, 86 drones for SHIN. Cost efficiency, as Mapu is pointing out, only 2,000 resources in favor of Cure. When you're playing Battle Mech with speed Banshees, you're expecting to get tons of chip damage in with the Cyclones and the Hellions. When I say chip damage, I mean you're trying to slowly shave away the Zerg army from a distance. Not really taking much damage yourself, but so far, Cure just hasn't really been able to make those trades happen, and now SHIN going for another surround over here in the top right.
Yeah, I just don't know if Cure can get anything done when he gets to the Zerg side of the map. You know, these nice Ling surrounds are going to come in over here. We've got some Overseers headed back here as well. Can Cure maybe poke out this base? That's going to be the big question. We've also got a big counterattack down here in the lower left, and that, I believe, is taking out several SCVs while this top right hatchery has been saved.
Yeah, and man, I'm singing the praises of SHIN right now because so much has been going so well for him over the past couple of minutes, but we look at the supplies and Cure actually still ahead. The economic machine behind Cure is just through the roof right now, securing another expansion, even taking down, I think, double-digit drones with an attack over by the 1 o'clock expansion. And SHIN, let's not forget that he kind of delayed a lot of his tech to try and get that mid-game presence on the map. It's one of the reasons why he was able to take those good fights earlier on in the game, and only just now do we have 5 Vipers joining the fray. The Greater Spire also finishing up here for SHIN, but Cure, I mean, he's taken a bit of a beating over the past couple of minutes, but he is maxed again, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's maxed and looking fearsome. The problem is his attacks have been sort of impotent so far. They haven't really done anything. Small Ling attacks that have come in here and clean up a lot of these SCVs. And, it's funny. They are basically even on bases here. And there's still a few more spots that can be filled in. In a game that tempo-wise has never really felt like a normal TVZ, even games I see with Mech, I don't feel like you see exchanges quite like this one. I guess part of that is because it's like hardcore Cyclone with extra Hellions and Hellbats there the entire time. Nice fungals. The Hydra's going to come in here and try to do damage, but that hatchery makes a bit of a bottleneck, and so the damage is way higher on Cure's side of the fight.
Yeah, these Lings also getting caught over here in the bottom left side of the map. Cure just firing on all cylinders right now in the top right, taking down that expansion. Abducts now are coming in. I think a couple of Cyclones did get caught there, but with very little of a meat shield in front of SHIN, it doesn't matter if you're not basically staying even on cost efficiency here with a Terran. The economy of Cure right now is just through the roof. SHIN down to 63 drones, reset down to 4 bases mining. 3 of those bases are mostly mined out. GG is called. What an impressive game from Cure. We kept seeing these little tiny moments where SHIN was able to snipe down the Banshees in the main base, was able to parry with a surround the attack that Cure went for in the top right side of the map, was able to get some counter damage in with a push behind it. And I feel like I was a little bit narrow-minded focusing on those points, because in the bigger picture, Cure's economy was just incredible. And SHIN, at one point, I think it was up like around 90 drones, maybe high 80s in the drone count, but Cure put on so much pressure because his economy was just relentlessly pumping out these Cyclones and these Hellions that SHIN, when he lost drones, he didn't feel like he had the space to remake them and catch back up with Cure. And eventually Cure, despite taking, honestly, some bruises early on in that game, right around the 9 or 10 minute mark, he was able to turn it around so quickly. It was like, it went from 0 to 100 so fast.
It's funny because it was like this tug of war in the middle of the map, and that's not uncommon in TVZ. We see it all the time. Usually it's with Bio and, and Ling Bane coming in and this back and forth. But it didn't seem like initially the Cyclones did enough, but I guess they were able to kind of chisel away and kite for so long that eventually there wasn't any way for Zerg to really trade favorably. This is a very new idea to just kind of commit to that the whole time. When we see Cyclones a lot of times, we see a bunch of tanks later and Thors. But do you have to do that? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like if you're going to play the slower style with siege tanks, with Thors, the way that we see Maru probably do better than basically anybody.
Yeah, Gumiho sometimes as well.
You're typically, although Gumiho expands faster than basically anybody with Terran,
yeah.
I was going to say that usually you're a little bit slower building your economic engine. You might take the third base at the same timing, but in terms of securing a fourth or a fifth, there are a lot of pieces of the puzzle you kind of want to put together before taking those extra bases, right? But when you play a Cyclone Hellion style, especially with the Speed Banshees mixed in like that, even though they didn't really pay off in that game in particular, you're a lot more tempo-based. You have a lot of presence on the map with the fast units that you've got. And as you pointed out, they're very cheap. You take a couple of losing fights, but you're able to remax so quickly. And because you already have that map presence, even if you do lose some fights, typically the Zerg economy isn't out of control, and also the creep spread isn't that spectacular. So they're not really able to keep building up, and eventually the reinforcements kind of put out the fires back at home there for Terran. And in that case for Cure, his economy was just way above what SHIN can handle.
I'm curious if he's going to do it again in this game now. I don't know why. Maybe I was a little bit deterministic in my head about how Cure would play, but I thought for sure he was going to stick with Bio. But Mech has been very much so growing in popularity, particularly Cyclone style, which I always thought was kind of the, I don't know, maybe like a cheesy kind of gimmicky mech, but it seems like why not just stick with it? Cyclones are among the easiest units to micro in a game that's very, very fast-paced, as long as they don't get surrounded or fungled, right? If they get surrounded, they die pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, over time, there was just a period where Cure was the same size and almost bigger base-wise than SHIN. SHIN was going to start to lose bases. We were going to, and Zerg's always supposed to be ahead in bases, if the game's going to be even, because that's how StarCraft works. But by the end, it was like the Zerg was shrinking, the Terran was growing, and the writing was on the wall. So I was asking a second ago, is this game going to be the same? Not at the start. It's going to be 2-Rax Reaper.
Yeah, 2-Rax Reaper here on the low ground of Ultra Love. And actually a third barracks getting thrown down. I love this builder choice coming in from Cure. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have many more Reapers than SHIN expects here in the early game. And Ultra Love, I don't think, in my opinion as a Protoss player, so I don't really know particularly exactly how the Reapers are going to play out. I feel like this might not be the best map in terms of being able to abuse the map features to the best of your ability with these Reapers, but in any case, it will be the build order of choice here for Cure. And the third base, it is a little bit far there from the main of the natural. If the Queens decide to walk down, maybe SHIN, say Cure is levying some pressure on the third base with the initial number of Reapers coming in from these first 2 barracks. SHIN might pull the Queens to try and deflect those away, right? But if you have just a couple more Reapers coming in from that third racks, that could completely change the dynamic and start snowballing,
I think you are
right?
spot on. I think the idea is that you see 2 racks Reaper and you go, okay, he's going to put pressure on, and I got to be careful because you can actually take a lot of damage to this, but I can do this tightrope walk correctly, right? And the reality is a 3 racks Reaper can just get a few extra Reapers in there. If the Queens are out on the map too much, they can be killed. But we don't have that third hatchery starting yet. Sorry, where's the drone?
The drone went all the way to the top left and mined this mineral and is now coming back.
Is this a mistake? Was he trying to mine that and then have that stay there? Or is he just going to try to stay on 2 bases?
I think that SHIN knows this is coming because that spine crawler he threw down in the early game, the natural expansion, when he saw that Reaper, he actually, I believe, allowed that to finish. So he knows this is 3 racks Reaper. One of these drones is going to fall down, and because of that, he's deciding not to go for the third base at all. He isn't taking the bait, and I think the big tell there for SHIN, he didn't see the third barracks, but he did notice the very late command center coming into the natural expansion. In fact, from SHIN's point of view, that command center might not even have been thrown down just yet because the Overlord's all the way in the corner already. So we are going to have a transition coming in from Cure, and it will be a very fast engineering bay. Now, when you play a 3-rack style like this, these Reapers, they didn't get direct damage done, but they have been able to delay the third expansion here from SHIN.
Yeah.
They effectively killed 2 drones. One of the front lines just went down in the mineral line, but another one actually fell because it had to be turned into a spine crawler, right? So the economy of SHIN, it's quite fairly slowed down. And when you have 3 barracks this early and you transition from going into Mass Reaper into going Mass Marine, say we have +1 infantry weapons get queued up at the engineering bay, that could lead to a very potent timing attack at a critical junction of the game.
So he just keeps a tight grip on the outside of the Zerg's base. The second command center finishes, Stim is coming. And, Zerg, I think had a very good read. I'm actually not even sure how he had that read. Maybe he just was able to count the Reapers as they came there and saw it. Okay, immediately it's going to be 3 racks Reaper. But he's going to, Cure's diving in here now. The Reapers don't have a ton of value when the game goes on for too long, so this is pretty genius. And the reality is that, with the Queens going down, and I think maybe SHIN thought that, there wouldn't be this many Reapers, and so when they jumped into the main, suddenly it's this huge massacre, and this is 2-base Zerg versus 2-base Terran. Terran just now getting their expansion up. Zerg losing a ton of drones, actually down in workers, and that doesn't even put the emphasis yet on mules being dropped in this process. SHIN may be in a position now where if he doesn't have a counterattack that does devastating damage, he's probably not going to be viable in the mid-game.
Dude, my jaw's on the floor right now. 15 drones just died. Oh. SHIN has no Queens. He's going for a Nidus War because I think you hit the nail on the head. The only option right now for SHIN is to try and end the game immediately. He's not even rebuilding the Queens because his economy can't support producing injected hatcheries with roaches right now. It is so bare bones. 30 drones in total. But I'm telling you, Chase, even if this Nidus Canal gets up here in the main base of Cure, and Cure does spot it, he's pulling the Marines.
Look at this. He's like, I know this exactly. He's like, 6 Marines and SCVs.
I feel like SHIN is basically just dead. Yeah, that's it. GG. Game number 2 going to be going in the advantage of Cure, and this best of 5 is getting one-sided in a hurry.
Yeah.
I can't believe he got that much damage done with the Reapers. That was insane. The micro was perfect.
I mean, it was something to behold. I guess a lot of Terran players, when they, realize, okay, he's not going to take a third base, they probably stop Reapers, right? And I think the only place the Reapers could get in was that little area around the main, and usually you just keep Queens and Lings there, and if the Reapers come up, you trap them. But Cure kept making Reapers, and he scanned. So he had vision, and that was, I don't know the exact amount, but it must have been like 9 or 10 Reapers.
Yeah.
And once you don't have those Reapers blocked off, they can outmaneuver everything. They're faster than the Queens, they're faster than the Lings, they're faster than the drones. And then he started to isolate everything. And I think that SHIN did not anticipate this. He imagined that his main was basically safe. Totally not the case. And at the end of the day, we saw Cure do so much damage that the only choice for SHIN was to do an all-in, and that all-in failed.
Yeah, I feel like it's a rare sight to see a Zerg get taken down to 30 drones that early from Reaper pressure. And the scan was just the most brilliant thing, too, because, as you said, SHIN, with those lings at the top of the main, he felt like he was basically impervious. He's like, the Reapers can't get up. I have the Spine Crawler, my natural secure. Let me just power up, go into Roaches on 2 bases. But that was just an absolutely clutch timing.
Crazy, man. Guys, consider joining the Patreon. We've had so many of you sign up. It's been, an incredible experience putting this show on. We invite you to join us. We've got different tiers depending on what kind of support you can give. And if you can't give any financial support, just feel free to follow us. It helps grow the Patreon that way as well. It's been a crazy 2-0 so far. Very different looking games here from Cure than I anticipated. I really thought we were just going to have standard bio pushes. Kind of boring early games and exciting late games. Instead, it's been crazy Cyclone Mech. And, kind of a weird twist of fate with the Reapers. Not really shutting down a third base, but going in the main. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, this best of 5 will continue on. We will see you soon. Thank you for waiting, everybody. We're going to go into Game 3 here with SHIN versus Cure, and hopefully we get a Game 4. It's been a 2-0 so far. Again, I said it before the break. I'll say it again. Much different looking TVCs than I thought. This is like Cure not playing like his normal self. Just committing to Cyclones the whole time. And then I especially liked Game 2 where he actually kind of leaned into the Reapers in a moment where I think most players would assume the Reapers are obsolete at that point and you have to go power up into bio.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and watch that one again because it also caught me off guard. I just kind of felt like, the Reapers, they didn't quite do their job, but it's not a bad position here for Terran. We're building up into a timing a sec later on in the game, and then suddenly the Reapers just basically do a leg sweep right there on SHIN and knock him to the floor, and that is Game 2 done in a hurry as map number 3, Persephone, has loaded up, spawning in the bottom left. It is SHIN. The blue Zerg down 0-2 in this best of 5. And in the top left, the red Terran. Trying to close this one out, it's Cure.
Yeah. So, I think SHIN is capable of doing like a 3-0 reversal from this, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I don't think anything from Game 1 or Game 2 can be downloaded and used to win in Game 3. Normally in a best of 5 or a best of 7, even a little best of 3, sometimes the player will do something in the first game and you go, oh, okay, I kind of see what you're trying to do. Or let me try this instead. Let me make some alterations. Let me change a little bit of the approach of the game from my perspective, and maybe I can win. But those 2 games were so of their own. And Cure could bring in a standard play. He could bring in a third other weird game here. So SHIN is going to have to bring the ZVT of his life.
Yeah, winning three ZVTs in a row versus Cure is not going to be easy.
I think he's going to do some kind of pressure in the middle of the map here. He just mined out 1 mineral.
Maybe,
or maybe he's just checking for proxies.
That was my read on it. Just looking at the rally points basically for this drone, the path that it took is through the most common proxy 2 barracks or 3 barrack spots.
What if he sends it again and takes out the next mineral? No, he's going to take a third hatchery. Okay, never mind.
I think that the mineral's being blocked because every Terran unit basically is ranged. It makes more sense to try and open that thing up here for SHIN.
Yeah, sure.
So if the drone's on the map scouting for the proxy barracks anyway, you might as well just start opening up that path. It's a very small thing, but I think he's just optimizing for, all right, there wasn't any barracks over there. What is the one useful thing this drone can do before coming back? And it's open up this pathway a little bit.
So, very, very fast third base, but we don't have that kind of Reaper pressure we had before. We just have 1 Reaper to basically poke in here and confirm everything is par for the course so far here in this. No, he's going to get it. Ooh, that was nice. And the surface area around the gas is a little bit more punishing than you might think. The Reaper can't slip up or down to get away from that. And so the Reaper's killed immediately. lights out on the map here for Cure. Cure is going for a third command center in this game, which looks like it could be similar. Well, I mean, it's very similar to game one, at least. But the question is, where in that tech tree fork in the road does Cure take us? Is it going to be more factories? Is it going to be more barracks, or what?
Yeah, and for SHIN on the other side of things, the fact that he took that Reaper out early is such a boon, because this is a gasless build. You're not really expecting to be able to have any map presence right now as SHIN unless that Reaper goes down, and the Terran losing the Reaper before 3 minutes is not something you typically expect. So for SHIN, I think he's going to be very happy with this. The first gas is just now coming online, but already the third hatchery is done. We have a ton more drones coming in, and SHIN can basically play whatever game he wants to play right now. We do have the Roach Warren coming in. I'm wondering whether this is going to be a Roach Warren more for safety, because it is lined up to have a couple Roaches on the map when the first couple Hellions start becoming a potential problem. But knowing SHIN and how much he loves playing aggressively, I don't know if it's necessarily just going to be defensive. You know, there's always that room for a little bit of aggressive opportunity here for Zerg.
Yeah, Zerg certainly is allowed to try to come in here and punish this. It's funny, we saw the Nidus in the last game, but I do feel like Nidus is maybe even a little bit better against a build like this. I wonder, was the Nidus in game 2, was that premeditated once he realized he's not going to get a third base up? Or was that some kind of a response to something that happened after that? Like, would the Reapers come in there, and then after they were finally killed off, he went, I'm so dead. Yeah. Let's just, let's do this. It's probably not going to work, but at least I can say I tried, and then let's leave the game.
I think it's basically a Hail Mary play.
Yeah.
It seemed like, to me, he was planning on getting something aggressively done with the Roaches, but all ending with a Nidus network is not what I think the original plan was, as it actually will be a bio game.
Okay, we did it.
Yeah, we
got
survived.
We unlocked another tech tree thing. We finished it. All of our Steam unlockables are there. Okay, standard bio play for the final game. I think SHIN has the best shot at this, because this is what he's played the most. But I will say, I think Cure is easily top 3, maybe even top 2 in the whole world when it comes to this kind of bio play.
Dude, SHIN is just taking every possible W of the early game. He got the initial Reaper, and then somehow, I think it's literally one Queen kills the starting Banshee.
Yeah, which is not ever supposed to happen, by the way.
And neither of those things are supposed to happen. And look at this from SHIN, immediately throwing down 4 more Vespian Geysers. He's taking a 4th base in the bottom right corner of the map as well. Carapace has started. Once the lair is done and it's about to be finished, how quickly are we going to have the infestation pit get thrown down? Because if there was ever a time for an ultra rush, I feel like this is probably going to be it. But we do have Roach Speed getting started. No infestation pit just yet. Now with SHIN, you kind of have a plethora of different branches you can take your build right now. It seems like Roaches for now, just for safety, will be the choice. But I would love to see some fast ultras in a game like this one.
Okay, 4th base, tucked very far away. This is the hardest base, the 4th base, to actually hit, even though that's usually the primary target when the push actually happens. And there will be a push off the 3 bases here. This is how TVZ looks. These are like kind of what you'd call mainline openings if it was like a chess game. Like, we kind of know how these games tend to pan out and roughly what each side is trying to do. But on this map, I think Zerg is safer on 4 bases in this position because it's kind of all in this first lower layer of the map. A lot of 4th bases tend to stick into the middle, and it creates a little bit more risk. So, Cure also takes a 4th of his own, and maybe we'll see a delayed push coming out of him because of that. And maybe it's going to be one where the Zerg has to take their 5th, and then that's what prompts the Terran. I'm not saying it's set in stone, but that could be the kind of direction this game goes in, where it's like deep macro, everybody's upgrading, everybody's trying to just build out their infrastructure. That's going to lead to one huge crescendo at the end of this game.
Yeah, 1-1 infantry weapons and armor nearing completion right now here for Cure, and I don't think this is going to culminate in a big explosive push right now, but certainly that's going to open up the opportunity for Cure to get more aggressive on the map. 2 medevacs already heading into the main base here for SHIN. What do we have to defend? So far, not very much, and let's not forget, these Roaches, they're not very quick to get back into this main base, so already 3 drones falling, more workers getting pulled. Infestor has finished up, but at the same time, Tasis, we've got 5 Hellions coming into this bottom right base.
Yeah, the Hellions are going to come through, and the drones are actually pretty well blocked there. Unless he gets one more hit off on it, doesn't look like he will. So 6 drones killed. Not bad. Could have been a lot worse. Meanwhile, Kira's going to come here and clean out these spotter overlords. And it's still 4 base to 4 base. Zerg will be pressured to make that 5th base first. 3 overlord kills is actually pretty big. That's going to supply block SHIN for the time being.
Yeah, but I must say, it's been very well handled. Look at that. The moment the Hive is done, we already have the Ultralisk Cavern going now. And that is 8-minute Ultra Cavern on the way, plus 2 Carapace already halfway done. And for now, SHIN, he's just trying to shore up on the defense. He's adding in Ravagers into this mix, trying to keep these Infestors alive from the one roaming Banshee right now. It's a much easier task because that first Banshee did get taken out in the early stages of the game, and so does the second Banshee. So Kira's going to try and get aggressive still with this bio, but until 2-2 is done, I feel like he isn't going to have a presence on the map. But by the time Terran gets 2-2 tasteless, we might have Ultras with a ton of armor.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I mean, especially if he could maybe even get like 1 or 2 fungals in here to connect with this, it's going to be really punishing. We don't see this style that often, but I think it is really strong. And so the 5th base is acquired. This is going to be the first base on the map that's kind of poking out. I thought we might see a push, but SHIN seems to be setting up for a gargantuan drop into the main. And the main is actually pretty far removed from everything. There's like a couple roaches and lings, but a laughable amount for the size of this drop. Like he can come through here and unload and wipe this pretty easily. And with the blind spot he created earlier, he's going to spring this attack.
Yeah, SHIN's army was in the center of the map, but he instantly pulled it back when he saw these medevacs coming into the main base. Are they going to be able to take down the Hive? Right now, Curious trying to focus it down. Infestors, they come in with a fungal. The fungal is absolutely massive on all this bio. And the Hive falls, but at what cost? Almost every single Marine gets taken down. Only 3 survive. Curious trying to keep momentum going by pressuring here on the right side of the map, but he just lost the majority of his forces there. And now this is the big power spike for SHIN. The Hive have basically already accomplished the objective. The Ultralisk Cavern is done. Armor upgrades are done. We don't have 3-3 started because SHIN, he's trying to get pressure done right now. 17, no, make that 21 more Banelings underway. I think SHIN's about to come in with a monstrous counterpunch. Can Cure possibly hold on after losing so much bio?
I mean, that's going to be the big question. The Hive going down, but I guess the rest of the critical tech wasn't wiped out, right? So it's not like he lost anything that he doesn't, he's already got this. And so the Ultras are going to come in here. The kiting is looking extremely strong. We got some Widow Mines doing some damage, but I mean, there's so much HP here for SHIN to try to plow through with. Cure has not managed to remake an army that's of supply that can really match this. That being said, the Ultras are starting to be picked off. They haven't actually breached any major position. The kiting is kind of insane. Cure migrating to 2 places at once.
Yeah, I love the supply depot so much there from Cure. They really took a lot of momentum out of this attack here from SHIN. Ultra and Roach on low HP, going to be trying to take down that command center there in the top right. Will force a liftoff, but for Cure, even the fact that he was able to survive that first wave to me is very impressive. Another Ultralisk is going to get taken out. Ring reinforcements are coming in. I don't think we have adrenal weapons just yet, so these Lings, they might not be packing quite as much of a punch, trying to get down these reinforcements instead, coming in from the natural expansion, but Cure so far, he's barely holding on.
Yeah, I mean, right now SHIN is going to be pressed to try to get a little bit more damage, and the problem is, Cure, a lot of times you look for like all the SCVs to get wiped, or the natural is lifted off, and Terran is trying to just, hunker down in their main and survive this, but Cure is still rebuilding. There are bases very much on the periphery that I feel like have to, at minimum, be lifted. But if Cure can get a sizable enough army and kite his way through this melee damage, I think there's an inevitable counterpunch that could be fatal here for SHIN.
It is crazy that Cure's been able to survive this way. He was able to get back to effectively a maxed army supply before that fight culminated, but again, losing so much bio in the main base of SHIN just for the Hive, although it is a good tech reset, it doesn't help him in the next couple of minutes, right? The Ultras are already on the board, and that's a lot of money basically down the drain. That's not going to be reinforcements for this army, and still, Cure is able to hang on. This one lone Ultra coming down the ramp will get taken out. It does give way for these additional Ultras to basically eliminate this top right base and the 4th base at the same time, with a big run bike coming in. So far, only 2. No, make that 3 SCVs getting taken out.
Okay, you know what? I think SHIN can push a little bit further here.
Yeah.
He's basically drawing a lot of attention here into the natural. If he goes up here to 12 o'clock, now we got a huge counterattack here from Cure. and I think this is the smart play, is he has to come in here and create a lot of room for himself. He's going to be hitting as these Banes are coming down. There's Ultras coming from behind, and the angle is so strong here for SHIN. More medevacs than anything else Terran has on the ground, and that's going to allow SHIN to then chase us all the way up. I'm kind of surprised we don't have a pickup here, all things considered. With the Marauders in the front, I guess actually Kier can kind of keep kiting.
Yeah, you just got to try and get as much value as you possibly can with the distance between the middle of the map and this fourth base. But with more Banelings and Lings streaming in, the bio count here on the front line is really starting to thin out. Somehow, Kier is still not out of this game, but it's just a handful of units. The moment those units are recruited out of the barracks, they are immediately mustered into the fight on the defense. If he misses one beat on production, Kier is basically dead. But at this stage in the game, you did lose your fifth base, but the Hive snipe is actually really getting impactful. The Hive only just now finished again. 5 Vipers are getting started. And notably, +3 Carapace here for SHIN just now began because he did not start it with the initial push on Hive. That means that there's going to be a very large window now where Kier might be able to get something done. He does have +3 infantry weapons, and that's going to make a big difference in terms of taking down these Ultras.
And Kier's really strong in these positions. Where most Terrans would die, he actually is pretty good at just continuing to eke out damage. I mean, the stamina this guy has to keep spreading and kiting and then repositioning is incredible. Remember that really it's this base and then 2 screenshots to the left that SHIN is trying to expand into. Kier, you know, he looks weak, he looks soft at times, but as long as he can keep pushing into, kiting, I mean to say, into his rally point, this will eventually be a moment where the Zerg has to turn around. And you're kind of seeing it, right? Like the Banes are, oh, nice fungal. I changed my tone on that. I changed my song I'm singing about that moment. But, you know, even then, I guess he almost has enough to make this work.
Yeah, these medevacs have done non-stop healing. It's actually kind of insane. It's been the same group of medevacs for the longest period of time, just been all on low HP too. Mostly for the fungals, I think. They've been tied up by the fungals more times than I can count, but still somehow Kier is hanging in. He actually lifted up the main command center to take a new 5th base over here on the top left side, and he's trying to put a dent into this significant income advantage that SHIN has been able to build up over the past couple of minutes. If Kier can snipe this fresh base over here at the triangle expansion for SHIN, that would be a huge win, but these Lings coming in, there are just so many of them.
I mean, this is such a crazy moment. Kier was at 126 supply a while ago, and he is powered up, he's lashed back out, and that was one of the 2 Achilles heels that SHIN has. You know, this base, it's not on that bottom rim of the map. It's actually closer to the middle. So Kier comes in here, he slashes that base apart, and he can, you know, basically kite all the way across the map. Now, I think he's going to regroup and drop down to the other spot. SHIN's going to take the 3 o'clock spot on the map here, which it's really important that Kier actually watches for that, because for some reason that base a lot of times goes unscouted, even in like late game like this.
All right, another big engagement coming in. Fungals and parasitic bombs on all of these Liberators, but not that much follow-up. Biles are able to take down one of them, but Kier, he retains the majority of his forces. Still a dozen Marauders and many more Marines here on the ground as SHIN is waiting for reinforcements now to come in. This is Kier's opportunity to creep forward closer and closer to this highly saturated base. SHIN decides he has to try and defend it. He's pushing past the Liberator zones. Those Ultras taking a ton of damage, but Kier, he's turning this game on its head.
Dude, he's doing it. I think he's almost actually done it. There is not enough minerals and gas to get enough Ultras out in this moment as this base is going to fall. By the way, the medevacs are empty. It's like he's just going to stim burn through this. Doesn't matter. GG. Kier just 3-0'd SHIN. And it's funny. We've seen this before with Kier, where it looks like it's going to be a pretty impossible late game. Like he's lost 1 or 2 of the big pushes, and he just kind of wills it. Like he just doesn't stop. He does not give up. And you could see he re-macroed out. He pushed in there. It's funny. It looks like Kier is losing the whole time, but enough Ultralisks are picked off. They can't quite retreat. And then eventually Kier just has enough to kind of just squeeze through and take these bases out in that more central location on the map.
The latter half of that game was some of the most impressive TVZ play I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to embellish anything at all. That was downright dirty because Cure, let's rewind a little bit. He lost the initial Reaper to, I think, the first 4 Lings trying to get a drone, which he did not get. Shin did a gasless expansion. He was so greedy. He was powering up so much behind that. And then he goes in with a Banshee. He loses it to a Queen? I don't even know if a Spore Crawler got any shots off on it. It just fell to the Queen and got effectively nothing done. He then had only one more Cloaked Banshee, which also got cleaned up without accomplishing very much. And then he goes for this big drop. Yes, he does snipe the hive, but he loses the majority of his bio, or at least a significant portion of it, right? From those clutch fungals. And from that moment on, he basically played a perfect game. If he missed any beat on production, he's dead. If he missed micros even a little bit, if he gets caught by a fungal, if the ultras get too big of a connection, he's dead. If he doesn't have as good SimCity as he did with even the supply depots, the 3 depots, creating a bottleneck where the ultras couldn't pass through, but the bio could. If he doesn't do any of those things, he's dead. And he still comes back in that game. I mean, that was just absolutely phenomenal. I am in love with Cure's TVZ.
This is easier said than done, but you have to be able to salvage Ultralisks. I think it's one of these units where you kind of send it in and you try to push as deep as you can. But the problem is that, Terran does have this ability to keep kiting. And I think even though there are these moments where the Zerg looks so big, it's like there's no way to actually kill off what they have. If enough time is in the game and there's enough workers for the Terran, and you have control like Cure, you can kind of just eventually kill off enough Ultras that you can counter push there.
Well, that's going to be the first series wrapped with a 3-0 win for Cure. Really stunning victories over SHIN. 3 very different games. Coming up, we're going to be having another best of 5 in the winners quarterfinals between Reynor and Zoun. Reynor has been so solid in ZVP lately. He absolutely dominated his group, advancing in first place with wins over Classic and Estrella Classic. Been the best Protoss player in the world for quite a while now, Tasteless, but Reynor's still able to take him down. I think Zoun, he's going to have his work cut out for him in this upcoming series.
Yeah. So SHIN, he will be in the losers bracket here, so he's not knocked out yet. And coming up next, we're going to be having Reynor versus Zoun. I'm super excited for this one. I think it is going to be Reynor favored, but Zoun is definitely somebody who can punch above his weight.
Yeah, I'm curious what Zoun's PVZ is going to be looking at because, in the previous group stages, he was in a group with Cure, Creator, and Bunny, and of course advancing in second. Cure did advance in first, but his PVZ wasn't exactly tested, whereas Reynor had to fight through 3 Protoss players in Classic, Estrella, and SOS in his group, eventually emerging in first. And I'm curious about Zoun. Zoun has had moments of absolute brilliance, especially in PVZ, over the entire year. He just keeps getting stronger and stronger every time I cast him, but Reynor is just looking phenomenal. So guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, that best of 5 PVZ series, don't go anywhere.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RSL. We had a quick 3-0. Cure just decimating SHIN. We're going to be going into Zoun versus Reynor now. Hopefully, this is a closer one.
Yeah, I've got high hopes for this series. Reynor, his ZVP has been really, really impressive. Even taking down Classic. Best Protoss player in the world. Reigning RSL champion, Tasteless. Looking for the first ever repeat in RSL history. And Zoun, he's a little bit of a wild card. You never know exactly what you're going to get with Zoun. On some days, he looks like he is a top 3 Protoss player in the world. On some days, it feels like he's maybe not quite up to snuff. But one thing you can guarantee is that year by year, month by month, day by day, he's getting better and better. He keeps elevating his gameplay. This is a guy who, for a very long time, was struggling to get into the round of 16 of GSL, and then it felt like every single season he's getting into the round of 16, and even this year it feels like, well, he's basically very close, if not making it to the round of 8 almost every season. So he keeps getting better, but this is going to be a hell of a battle between him and Reynor.
This is going to be a fun one. Hopefully we get a long and dramatic series here. Reynor versus Zoun. Our second best of 5 here for the day is starting now. Okay, it's going to be Zoun here in the center right, Reynor here in the center left. Zoun has played a decent amount of slow PVZs lately, and it does feel like PVZ in general is in a kind of a slower pacing place, especially with a lot of Protoss players hanging on to the Stargate tech. There's ways to basically, and the Stargate tech can mean a lot of different things, right? I mean, you could open with just a Void Ray. You could open with something like Oracles, and then from there, is it Tempest? Is it Carriers? But a lot of these games, it feels like Protoss just wants to keep ticking tech tree boxes and trying to grow, and they don't engage too much. And then you get into the Carriers, and then they really try to take some fights where the Zerg just doesn't trade well, and eventually you overpower the Zerg. Now, maybe we have a different game than that, and maybe it's going to be one where Zoun comes in, and he is going to be packing punches early. And if that's the case, we'll be casting a very different game. But if I had to bet on what most of the series is going to look like, I think it's going to be slow play from Protoss.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you. That is what my intuition is telling me as well, but here on Kill Switch, if we are going to have an aggressive game, it's probably going to be on this map. The rush distance from third to third is so close.
True.
On Kill Switch, it has led to some really explosive games. We've had Zergs lean heavily into the aggression, whether it be a Roach Ravager all in or some kind of Ling Baneling timing, as we have seen in PvZs and RSL Season 1. And Protoss, as a result, kind of has to respect that. And even though we might have Stargate play coming in, usually there's a lot more focus on surviving the mid game, and that has led to some really crazy situations where the Protoss player basically almost dies, but is able to retain a core amount of stalkers that they can leverage to win because, again, the rush distance is so close. You move across the map after defending, and you're suddenly at the Zerg's third base in like 10, 15 seconds. So here on Kill Switch in map number 1, there is a lot of potential for aggression, but so far on both sides, very standard openings.
So we have that Stargate started. We'll have an idea of what kind of tech it's going to be in a little bit here. And we don't know if it's slow play or not. I think, to your point, State, you might be right. On this map specifically, this is kind of engineered to create fights early on, which I welcome. I think we had a lot of like hardcore macro maps, but I think it is a little bit more interesting if there's the potential for some kind of chaos in the early game. So for now, we see that the Adept's going to be out here, and there's a little bit of control play with this Adept. You don't want to give them an expansion too easily, but this base is going to be tucked away in the upper left, not in the triangle expansion.
Yeah, Reynor actually taking, in my opinion, the best defensive option for an expansion pattern here on Kill Switch, as he's going to be looking to mine out the mineral wall between the natural expansion and the third base. He eventually hears Zoun. Not actually going to be finishing that shade. Instead goes for the cancel. Looks like Reynor is already getting to work on that mineral wall, the natural expansion, and Zoun eyes on him as we reach 330. It's not going to be the one gate third base, the incredibly greedy economic build that a lot of Protoss players have been doing in PvZ lately. Instead, Zoun just showing a little bit more respect, playing the map. Going to be going for the second gateway and just slowly building up to that third. As far as Zoun is concerned, there is no confirmation there's even a third hatchery yet for Reynor, though he is certainly expecting there to be one. So I like this decision to play it safe and just kind of get some scouting. You see he's hunting for the hatchery.
Yeah. And when you don't see that hatchery, there's a lot of uncertainty about the whole direction of the game, right? I mean, just identifying where the third hatch allows you to then kind of build out the network of decisions you have to make for the rest of the game. So he's going to find it in a second. There's only so many spots you can take. And he'll have to confirm once he comes over here. He has to know it's there, but still, just seeing it gives us a peace of mind about exactly what information he's working with. So the Twilight Council's coming, and to what you were saying, State, this is a pretty safe spot. We'll see if Protoss tries to attack in there or not. But Zoun's taking his third base, which, we basically always have three base Protoss now.
Yeah.
We do have occasionally, weird, cheesy, crazy play, but this is pretty much a matchup where you have to have that third.
He's taken the third base, but the way that Zoun is developing behind it is very interesting. He went for Twilight Council before third. You basically never see that in PvZ. And there's no Forge as well. We have 3 more gateways coming in, 4 more gateways, so we're already going up to 6 gateways and Blink. Pro production is still continuing, but this is starting to look like Zoun is going to be going for some kind of mid-game, I don't want to say all-in, because you can potentially transition out of it, but effectively all-in, especially as he adds in additional gateways here.
That's right. He's going to be trying to gear up here with these 5 gates to put some real pressure on here. We don't even have a robo, right?
No robo,
okay,
no
just making
Forge.
Sure.
7-gate Blink.
Okay, there it is. That answers my question. I was going to say that we have to have a pylon here. And he's going to basically create a push where the 4th base would be. And there's really nowhere else that Zerg can easily expand to. Maybe you could try to go to the place like at, I don't know, 11 o'clock here on the mini-map. But where Zerg's pushing, there's just no way that you can actually hold that.
Yeah, and it's critical that Reynor finds out exactly what is happening. He's getting +1 melee weapons, which is going to be very helpful in dealing with this, but up until this point, he did not know that there was going to be a proxy, and now alarm bells are going to be ringing. All the gateways are done here for Zoun. Stasis traps are getting deployed here in a defensive position to try and slow down. And not the best connections there with the stasis traps. I think Zoun would have liked to get a little bit more in terms of the Lings. Blink not done just yet either, so a lot of these Stalkers actually falling. This is a very momentum-based timing attack from Zoun. You don't want to lose any of these Stalkers, so the fact that Reynor was even able to snipe a couple of them in a moment like that one is huge.
I mean, I think Reynor should be able to hold here with just the number of Stalkers he killed right at the start. A lot of this is just reliant on being able to blink and then having a little bit of extra hull damage that you can kind of fudge if you miss micro. Fudge the micro if you're not perfect at control. He's going to come up here. The hatchery's at about half health. We're going to have a dive or a cancel on the hatch. So the dive's going to come in here. 2 Stalkers go down immediately. The creep is now going to spread over to this position, which is going to give a lot more of a runway for the next couple of attacks to come in here. The corrosive biles are going to eliminate the surface area to lay down traps and position Stalkers in. And, you know, it seems like Zoun's trying to kind of slide up the side. Again, it's a lot of Stalkers. Many are bruised. The hatch is low. I think Reynor's going to ditch it.
He's going to lose the 3rd hatchery, or the 4th hatchery, excuse me, but still, things are not looking that good here for Zoun. I think a lot of this comes back to Reynor just getting the jump on those initial Stalkers with Blink less than 10 seconds away from completion, and now Reynor potentially looking for a counterattack here at the 3rd base, also potentially eyeing that one gateway in the middle of the map as he re-expands to the 11 o'clock position. And Zoun now, this is a better angle for him to attack into, although as he loses vision on the top of this ramp, not the best connections there with the Stalkers. He is going to be blinking back. Vile is also forcing him to try and retreat even more. It's a beautiful concave here for Protoss. But does Reynor have enough to take this fight? These Stalkers are so low on HP, it's actually starting to turn into Zoun's favor, Tasteless.
Yeah, the Roach Horn was picked off. I didn't see if that was remade, but you could see there was no more probes made at this base. So this wasn't like I'm attacking you, but I'm also trying to develop behind this. This is really very much a timing attack intended to close out the game. The confidence is shown with the blink in here from the Stalkers. The drones have been pulled. The Stalker count appears to be just too high. The Lings are getting a decent amount of surface area, but there's not much else here to fight these Stalkers for the time being. And, you know, the drones and the Lings continuing to go down. Now, hold on a second, actually. Did he go too deep in here?
Yeah, I think that might have been a little bit ambitious, especially the second follow-up blink is Zoun just basically lost every single Stalker.
Yeah,
he has to restart now.
You know, I didn't appreciate when I saw that blink in, I thought, okay, well, he just knows he's got this. But, yeah, you know, now the Roaches can be remade, so the window in which it's only Lings is going to be gone.
And one of the key reasons why Zoun was able to have such a favorable fight was because he sniped that Roach Warren. Reynor for a very long time was floating money because if you can only produce Lings, you only have so much larva, right? You can't actually spend everything. And so there was this moment where Reynor, his economy was basically halved as he was waiting for the larva to come back and waiting for the Roach Warren to be there to properly utilize it. And as a result, Reynor is once more power spiking. So Zoun maybe overplayed his hand a little bit there with the aggressive blinks. And now with Reynor back up at full steam, I do not see this push working anymore, Tasteless.
Yeah, you know, all these timing attacks like this, they're hinged on having perfect engages or near perfect, right? And, you know, it started really bad and it kind of ended, you know, when it looked like it was at the tipping point where maybe he could still take it, it ended poorly. The blink in like that was a mistake. When you've killed the Roach Warren, they can only make Lings. That's not when you blink it. You really want to blink on top of them when it's like Ravagers that are running away or a small number of Roaches and Queens, and you kind of come in there with that killing blow. Instead, it's like he killed the Roach Warren, he blinked in, and now this is great for the drones and the Lings. They are right, they've literally, you've let yourself be surrounded at that point in time by melee units.
Yeah, I can't even really... the first blink in wasn't that bad, all things considered. Like, he got on top of the Ravagers, he was able to clean those up, the drones had to get pulled, but just the follow-up blink there for Zoun was really a painful one. Now, luckily for him, he is able to catch some of these Lings here on the retreat, but with Reynor continuing to power up additional Lings and Ravagers, I almost feel like we're going to have a counterattack coming in from Zerg in just a few moments. And if Zoun doesn't have a lot of space on the map to properly kite with, I feel like things are going to fall apart very quickly. You need to see Reynor getting ready with these. Oh yeah, the moment there's a big blink like that one, he's going to come in with a Ling, he's going to full surround. This is huge here for Reynor.
This might be the end of the game here. The Stalkers are taking so much damage. They get one blink away, but there's still going to be so much more chipped away at here with the HP. You can see he's continuing to run, but he's going to basically get chased all the way back to his third base, where the Nexus and so many other units can fall. A nice Stasis Ward does stun the army.
Yeah, the Stasis Trap is buying him a lot of extra time, but Reynor just continuing to rally across the map. Another big blink for there from Zoun, but he knows that it's basically over. So GG is called. Clutch the defense there from Reynor. I like the idea from Zoun a lot. I feel like if we had one more Chrono Boost on the Twilight Council, if Blink was done when that first engagement happened at the ramp of the fourth base, I think Zoun can win that game. That is a build very well crafted to win, specifically on Kill Switch. It's not something you're going to do on Persephone or one of these more standard maps like Ultra Love. You're using that build on Kill Switch. We're not going to see that again here in this best of 5 unless there's some crazy curveball that we don't know about coming in the pipeline of the maps. And so the fact that it falls flat in that way it's pretty painful here for Zoun, because I feel like the idea was very good, the planning was excellent, but the actual execution fell short.
I don't know, man. I mean, the idea was great. The application of the idea was pretty terrible. I mean, you know, specifically just kind of starting the fight before Blink is ready. The first couple of blinks let you clear out material without you really being punished at all. I mean, this is one of the scary things when the game first came out, was people, I think, imagined Blink like, oh, you're going to go from high ground to low ground. It's like, actually, you can just micro them like this. And then when you get people that are really good at it, you can avoid so much damage that you can snowball a fight. But yeah, I mean, he just took too much of a beating at the start. And even when it looked like he was going to win anyways, he did a dive Blink in there. And again, we know there's no Roaches and Ravagers being made. The tech is gone, which means it's literally going to be Lings hatching, which is what happened. Drones were pulled, Lings were hatching, and Zoun lost that. And I'll tell you what, I don't think Zoun is a player that can afford to throw a game in a best of 5 versus Reynor. So I think this is looking pretty dire for him right now.
Yeah, and especially with that attack in following the Roach Warren going down, it bought Zoun so much winning room. That was really the window that he had to close things out and make up for the early misengagement, because, as you said, Reynor, he can only make Lings in that moment. You don't have the Larva to support that economy only producing Lings, right? Especially with the Queens being engaged relatively early on there at the fourth base. I'm not sure how many were actually able to inject or how reliable the injections were, but in any case, Reynor with a clutch defense right there, taking the favorable early engagement, and then fantastic crisis control after the push into the natural expansion, able to take game number 1 as we move on to map 2. It will be Persephone, Zoun the blue Protoss in the top left, Reynor the red Zerg in the bottom left.
So, is Zoun going to have a cleaner game here? I mean, what he did is very straightforward. I think it's strong too. I think he should have won that. I think he literally, we could go like resume from replay before the attack happened, and he makes the adjustments. I think maybe he does win there. But it is kind of a bad sign. The shakiness on that alone is worrisome. You know, I think sometimes when people think of StarCraft, and I think I'm actually one of the people at fault for this, is they think too much of APM. They go, this guy was going so fast, and they imagine that what StarCraft is just a game where you're doing everything really, really fast, and that's how you're good, is you're doing a whole bunch of things at once. And that's true, okay? But the reality is when you're a really good player, you're actually making very, very specific decisions about tech, about expanding, but also about micro. Like, okay, when do I attack? It's not just like I have to attack quickly and I have to be fast. You actually have to attack when the blink upgrade is done. You know, and that was a moment where I almost feel like Zoun was just like going through the motions so quickly and wasn't, you know, checking to confirm that it's the time to make this move. You know, even the blink in, where he surrounded everything with that. Look, that's a fine move, but he didn't even analyze the situation correctly for it to happen. In fact, that was probably the worst thing he could do, is to try to win more with that blink. So all I'm trying to say, but beyond explaining that loss, which I think I've done from 5 different angles now in this game, is I'm trying to say that I'm worried about him here in game 2. He's going to have a much cleaner game.
And I love that point that you make about APM too, because I feel like this is, obviously, most of the fans here watching the RSL are people that have been following StarCraft II for a very long time, but I feel like this is a misconception of a lot of folks that aren't as clued in or as locked in with StarCraft II as we are, or fans of the RSL are, or StarCraft II fans in general, because people do think that, you know, the game is purely mechanical, that whoever's fastest is going to win, and that's always irked me a little bit. It's a very surface level analysis of what makes an RTS player great.
Yeah.
And the way that I've always thought about it is, if you have good mechanics, that is the threshold where finally you can unlock your potential to show your tactical brilliance, to show your strategic brilliance. And at this stage in the history of StarCraft II, basically everybody from Reynor to Zoun, and below them, above them, in terms of mechanics, they're already there. They have already unlocked the potential, and so the game less becomes about speed and more becomes about what is the best choice in terms of how do I move my units? What is the best plan in terms of build orders to execute in this best of 5 series? What tactical choice do I make? Do I blink forward or do I blink back? All of these choices are the interesting part of RTS games, and I feel like I'm kind of preaching to the choir right now to the StarCraft II fans, but it's always bothered me for people that have kind of brushed off RTS as being a pointless venture to get into, even as like a casual fan. It's like, oh, well, I'm always going to lose because my opponent has... Yeah, exactly.
It's actually not hard to have high APM. It's almost like if you looked at an MMA fighter and you're like, these guys are tough. And you go, yeah, they're tough. They're MMA fighters, but that's not why they win fights. They win fights because they know how to grapple. They know, they have good standing game. They have strong kicks, and they know when to use them. Like, you know how I can say that some of that's my fault is in the early days of StarCraft 1 when I get interviewed by press or other people. If I said that this guy can like manage 3 or 4 bases at the same time and scout, their eyes glaze over. But if I said he has 300 APM, they went, 300 actions a minute.
Yeah.
And it kind of made this thing sexy that was, otherwise just sort of like just like another feature of the game. And then when StarCraft II came out, they added an APM meter into the game, and, some guys had 500 APM and stuff like that, and it just became kind of a marketing point. Even in the game, like with one of the voice packs, it'll be like, oh, you're under attack, time to up your APM, and it's like, that's not how this game works. But yeah, so just wanted to kind of point that out here. To talk about this game for a second, because we're about to get to the most important part. This is going to be Adept Glaives. I kind of thought we might have Stargate stuff. And it's going to not be that again here.
Yeah, and notably, we have a single lone sentry in this War Prism. I think Zoun is planning on going for a big shade, potentially either into the main base or into a choke point where you can utilize that force field and just completely lock Reynor out. But we've seen Reynor time and time again be so clutch with a defense. He is very fast going for the wall-in right here, just instantly locking in that decision. Now, Reynor, I'm not sure if he's going to be expecting this. You don't usually see a sentry with a movement like this one, but with the initial shade back, all right, so the shades, they can move through the force field right now, so actually the Lings are not in position. Most of the Adepts, in fact, all the Adepts, able to get on top of the ramp. The Warp Prism does fall, but the sentry stays alive, man. What year is this? I feel like we're back in Wings of Liberty right now. Oh, that force field a little bit misplaced. The Queen right now is the unit blocking the gap. Second force field is going to lock that down, and now the main base. Oh, man, these drones, they are locked in a cage with a lion. Look at these Adepts go to work.
Yeah, I mean, the drones have nowhere to go. Only 8 have been killed. There's many more that could go down here. I think the sentry, I almost called it a force fielder, is out of energy.
Yeah, it finally does get taken out, but basically the entire main mineral line gets wiped out, and now the Adepts have shimmied their way with the shade down into the third base. The third base getting vacated of drones, or maybe it was already, but there's nothing to be found here. Reynor all the way down to 30 workers. This is a really cool tactical move from Zoun. How often do we see somebody go for a glaive adept attack like this, kill these drones, and lose all the Adepts? He did it and kept basically every single Adept alive. I'm in fact not sure if even one of them fell during that entire engagement. And this is a unit that typically drops off, but look at how Ling-based Reynor's composition is. We're going to have a Sentry Immortal Glaives follow-up push that could absolutely have kill potential. What a cool build from Zoun.
I love it. It was so smart. And I thought maybe when Reynor had the Evos set up there to block, he might be ready to kind of deal with this perfectly. But I mean, Reynor got hit so hard. I don't want to call it too soon because we already did see Reynor, looking like he was on the verge of death and kind of power through it no matter what. Some of it to the fault of Zoun there. But this looks so straightforward, right, from Zoun. Like, you've got Immortals. You just need a Warp Prism to come in here with this mix. You're going to have Blink. The Adepts are going to pair well with this entire army. And you've got enough sentries with this that you can do force fields, you can do guardian shields. You kind of have the ultimate fighting force here at the 7.5 minute marker.
Yeah, I love what Zoun is doing right now with his army movement. Okay, maybe not with this Immortal specifically, but up until this point. Are we going to get back in time with the main army to force field this? No. Immortal does get taken out, but up until this point, the movement was fantastic in the center of the map because Zoun, he was kind of testing the water. He wasn't really ready to move out, but he wanted to make Reynor think that he was. And as a result, Reynor, look at his worker count. It is barely inched above what it was before because he's basically felt like he needs to pump the gas on producing units this entire time, and that gave Zoun a couple of extra minutes where suddenly Reynor's economy, it's not going to grow past this point. It is way behind the Protoss.
Okay, some nice shots come in here. Another huge surround. And I don't know, man. I mean, is this really enough here for Protoss? I think the angles were so bad. The Warp Prism's still in the game, but the army's going to be recalled. And Reynor, you know, he's just so good at brushing off these bad positions and creating a new opportunity, from hitting the Immortal when it was Stray to the backstab that we saw there when Zoun thought he had a launching pad for an attack. Reynor is just so solid.
Oh, I've got a big frown on my face. I feel like things were going so well for Zoun up until that point, but a bit of a botched engagement, and suddenly Reynor is back in this thing, man. He's up to 52 workers, so the economy is mostly equalized. I don't think Reynor has enough to actually push through this position, so we have a little bit of a lag spike there, but we are back. And Reynor, yeah, he is going to retreat for now. Now, it's still a pretty tough spot. These Blinks forwards are going to potentially take down a lot of Ravagers.
Yeah, Ravagers are just not great at retreating, especially when the Blinks come in there. And did Reynor overextend? The counterpunch is going to come through here. You know, Stalkers are so great, not just at microing back, but you can keep linking forward like we're seeing here now, and there's so many more Stalkers to come. A larger army supply right now here for Zoun as he's continuing to pick off one by one these roaches.
Yeah, and I feel like the push that's about to occur now is basically what the initial push should have been, as Zoun's army is just through the roof in terms of value. Reynor really feeling the pain of that hindered economy early on as Zoun blinks forward. Reynor recognizes it is over, and we are all tied up 1-1.
Really back and forth games here. I think you got to be very careful how far you counterattack in a moment like that, right? Between a Warp Prism and Stalkers with Blink, once you overextend, the punish is crazy.
Yeah, Zoun, it was a little bit shaky though, man. I feel like both in Game 1 and in Game 2. Game 1 with a really good build order planning, just the execution wasn't quite there, so he floundered a little bit. And then in Game number 2, he still won the game, but I was very concerned because that is the perfect position. It was the dream early game, the force fields on the ramp, executing the entire main mineral line from Reynor, and then even sharking on the map with the remaining units, the sentries and the adepts, so that Reynor felt like he couldn't make any drones at all. And his economy is basically kept in check while Zoun continues to expand, continues to probe up. He takes that third base. And then I don't want to say fumble, because again, he did recover. He did win the game, but you got to really tighten up the execution, because I don't think that Zoun is going to have an early game as good as game number 2 again in this series. That was kind of like lightning in a bottle, with those adepts getting into the main base with a force field. And Reynor, we have seen him both in game 1 and game 2. He will punish your mistakes if you do make them. So, bit of a shaky start there for Zoun in this series, but hey, 3 games left to play.
Okay, guys, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue on with this best of 5, currently tied up 1-1. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We're going to go into Game 3 here with Zoun versus Reynor, and I don't know. I mean, there's been some misplays here on both sides for sure. It seems like Reynor, honestly, when I saw that surround, I thought, oh, this is going to go all the way back to the third base and ended, but not the case. The overextension was punished, and now we are going to see what exactly Game 3 is going to look like. But tied up 1-1, we will have a Game 4 and hopefully a Game 5 here.
Yeah, it's been an interesting series. I feel like both in Game 1 and Game 2, Zoun was just excellent strategic planning coming into this best of 5. It feels like he's kind of outsmarted Reynor a little bit. Like the build on Kill Switch, I feel like if the execution was better, Zoun wins that one. And then game number 2, Reynor just caught completely off guard by the Sentry and the Warp Prism, force fielding in the main ramp, going into the main base. Zoun just with some really clever strategies, not relying on the late game strength of Protoss, where the Stargate play very heavily, instead pivoting mostly to Twilight Council and Robotech. Twilight Council in game 1, Robotech there in game number 2. It's been cool, but the execution from Zoun, it hasn't been exactly perfect. I'm hoping that here by game number 3, as Ultralev is finally loading up, Zoun is going to have settled in a little bit and is going to be executing the way that we all know that he can do, because so far the build orders have been so cool and really creative.
Yeah, this has been a lot more of a poppy PvP than the kind of slow cook I thought it was going to be from Zoun. Will he do something like this again? I guess we're going to find out in a little bit here. Reynor really has just been on the receiving end. I don't feel like we have a real sense of how his ZVP is supposed to look today, because if you're reacting this quickly to the game, really it means the Protoss is dictating what's going to happen.
And I wonder, to put myself in Reynor's shoes, what kind of adjustment you make against a player like Zoun, who is just doing these kind of unorthodox strategies both in Game 1 and Game 2. Because it feels like the timings are hitting so quickly, and Zoun has been doing a pretty good job of telegraphing something else. Like in Game 1, the only till I can think of, which I'm not sure whether Reynor was either was keyed in on it or not, was the third base timing. He built it really late. It was after the Twilight Council started in game number 1. And these are very specific things you have to scout for. It's like the Nexus going down 15 or 20 seconds later, where it's like, okay, let me quickly diagnose what the problem is going to be and start working on the solution for it. And against a player as tricky as Zoun has been over the first 2 games of the series, that is not an easy task.
So in this game, fast expand here with the core. We really have to wait and see, what kind of techs are going to be chosen here. I don't think Reynor will do anything really aggro in these. I think he's just going to try to macro up and then see what kind of game he's in for, especially just seeing that Zoun has opted for basically 2 3-base all-ins. Or I guess one was not game 2 wasn't an all-in, I guess, but it was basically designed to come in there and do enough damage that the Zerg is so crippled, the follow-up blow would be fatal. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. A lot of these timing attacks, pushes, or kill moves like the Stalkers in Game 1.
No Warp Gate canceled from Zoun just yet. Normally you would do that if you're going to be going for a Stargate, and instead he's just going to allow the Warp Gate to continue researching on and go into the Twilight Council. If Reynor had his eyes on the Cybernetics core, he could have spotted that the Cyber Core didn't stop researching Warp Gate and then restart it, as usually Protoss players will try to get that extra 50-50 resources to get the Stargate a couple seconds faster. So it is a potential tell. And from Zoun, once more, we have another unorthodox strategy coming in. The Twilight Council super quick, and a Stalker follow-up, I want to say after the first Adept, with a Robo. Huh.
Yeah. I didn't think we would have this again. But let's see. I mean, that's a very fast Robo. It's going to be Glaives.
Yeah, running it back. The Stalker is an interesting addition here.
Well, a Stalker, a lot of times it says, I really can't let you scout me here. Like, sometimes if you see a Stalker early on, in a situation like this, you can just say, he's going to do something. He's hiding something, right? We saw this actually just yesterday. I was casting ASL, and we saw a Dragoon made in a PvZ, and it's like right at the start, it's like, why would you make a Dragoon? It's like, because you need to kill the Overlord badly.
Oh, wait, are you not supposed to do that? I've been playing a little bit of Brood War. I've been making Dragoons. Is that bad?
Well, not if you're trying to hide something, but generally you just want to make Zealots, like in StarCraft 1 and plug it up. But, when you get like, see how the Stalker's running around out here to stop an Overlord? It's the same idea. So the Glaives is coming. The Adept is on the way here, and we've got some gates. Does he do the sentry thing again? Or
he does.
I'm sorry, was there a sentry made? Did I miss
it's already
this?
been energy recharge,
it's
too.
on camera. What am I saying? I'm like looking at the production tab. I'm like, I don't see anything there.
You must be terrible at Where's Waldo, Tasteless.
I'm awful.
You got to practice those games more, man.
He haven't found him on any page of the book. So, in this game, I'm kind of stunned that we're having the same strategy twice.
Yeah,
but let's see.
The follow-up is a little bit different.
God.
We have a Dark Shrine now coming in, and I think for Zoun, you're just not really trying to hide this at all.
Okay. Actually, now I like it. I'm switching sides on this, because if he goes for a Dark Shrine here, the Zerg may react incorrectly and assume that this is going to be, one of these moves where he's trying to really cripple him and get out, and then the DTs could just end the game.
A lot of Spore Crawlers in production here for Reynor. I wonder if he's going to park one of them in the main base near that ramp. That would go a long way to try to parry a potential Warp Prism into the main base. As Zoun is going to be canceling the first shade there at the natural expansion, instead eyeing the third. The architecture of the map makes it a little bit harder for Zoun to find the appropriate angle to get into the main base. I mean, notice the distance even to Shade is much further. The Spore Crawler and the 3 Queens are doing a very good job of zoning away the Warp Prism, so Zoun going to cancel the Shade in. Will Reynor pounce on this now with the Lings? Looks like he will, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's going to Shade. How many Adepts are going to survive this? Not actually more than I thought. I thought actually a couple more were going to be picked off.
Uh-oh.
He's going to do the warp in here. Here we go.
This time we do have 3 Ravagers already done, so Reynor is prepared to bile this down. That's going to be basically putting a timer on the force fields. Zoun has a lot less time to work with. Still, he's able to take down the Queen. He's getting to work on the drones. Now already 7 have fallen. That Warp Prism barely surviving. Not as big damage done as we had in game number 2, but still pretty good. Are we going to have a recall out, actually? I feel like that would be a smart play in this instance. Maybe a little bit too late for that now. The Ling's already getting on this position.
Okay, he's got some more Adepts in here now.
Dude.
4 is enough to easily one-shot drones. He's got the DTs coming here, but there's a Spore. Now, the problem is 3 DTs actually can fight Queens no problem.
Reynor talking to himself a little bit there on camera.
Yeah.
Maybe frustrated with the way this game is going as this Spore Crawler gets taken out. Dude, Zoun has been so tricky over the course of this series. I don't even think we have a lair. I think that Spore Crawler needs to come in from the natural expansion to the 3rd, but it's already on half HP, Tasteless. That hatch is going to go down. Behind it, Zoun is powering up on 2 bases.
He's going to try to get it. Yeah, there's no way this thing can burrow here. I think this position's lost. I don't even know if the Spore should have been brought.
Dude, Zoun is a real Protoss is Protoss. This feels like watching an SOS game or something from years gone past.
Such a good dirty cheese. And really, you know, the execution with the attack was pretty good by Zoun, but when the DTs came in, that's where it started to hurt. Now, is there another Spore up here? Because I know he brought that Spore down. He was relocating that.
He made 3. Yeah, there must be here somewhere. Here. But he has used files to defend.
Oh, my God.
Oh, this is... The lair only just now started. It's tricky, too, because say you lift up the Spore Crawler. That's your only Spore Crawler. If the DTs somehow get on top of it before it can burrow, it's game over. Exactly.
No, I mean, you're in some ways incentivized to keep it where it is. I was even surprised to see the one Spore scramble down the base. So, you know, the biggest mistake from Zoun, and I know he's like very much won the situation in this game, but he did lose that Warp Prism. So the second Warp Prism is out. Blink is on the way. Now, you know, each of these games, it's funny because we kind of say what the state of the game is, and it doesn't always go that way. Like a minute later, like in game 1, we said Zoun was probably going to win, even though he had a shaky start of the attack, and then he overextended. In game 2, Reynor looked dead, and then Reynor shut down the attack, and then he overextended. So let's see what happens in game 3. Right now, Zoun looks to be just doing Archon drop harass, so he's going to try to just get any value here. The Archons are obviously all shields, and as long as you don't lose them in the Warp Prism, you're going to get value.
Yeah, this is pretty significant damage, too, to an already battered and bruised Reynor. And look at the minimap. There are just so many dots of these Overlords scattered across the map. 3 of them have already been picked off. And Reynor's trying to make roaches right now. They're the most supply-intensive unit in terms of cost in the game. This is not a good moment here for Reynor. In fact, I think this timing attack might just completely kill him.
Yeah, this should be fatal here. He's going to come in. Somehow the Warp Prism goes down again.
Wow.
But the question is, does it matter? I mean, there's so much damage here. It is a congested push in the sense that, like, the Biles are really connecting and getting a lot of value. But there's so many Immortals with the Stalkers in the front. 17, now almost 20 drones go down. I think we're going to see Reynor tap out here, and Zoun is going to take the lead 2-1.
Man, really tricky game coming in from Zoun. GGG is called. And I have to say, the execution from Zoun looking a lot better there in game number 3. Yeah. And he's keeping the same trickiness. These have been 3, I don't want to say very different games, because game 2 and game 3 ran parallel up until we had that Dark Shrine transition coming in from Zoun, which also caught Reynor off guard. But if Zoun continues to execute like this, and if he has a couple more builds like this with potential branches like we saw from game 2 to game 3, adding in the Dark Shrine and the DCs going into the 3rd base was a fantastic addition. This could be a dangerous series here for Reynor.
I mean, Reynor could die outright here. I was kind of critical at the start of that game where I'm like, oh, he's going to do like the exact same thing again. You know who might have also thought that would have been Reynor? You know, it's a very specific strat, and it is a bit of a callback to the old days when it was like Grubby or Huck were like putting one force field on the high ground, and we're like, ah! And then you know, the warp ins inside the main. But what I love about that is there's a DT tech added in. So you think you're just like trying to stabilize versus adepts, and then these 3 DTs come up. And there was detection, by the way. But 3 DTs can fight queens no problem.
Yeah, and with just the Spore Crawlers there, you can see that Reynor made a couple of adjustments from game number 2 to tighten up the defense. He went for the faster Ravagers, which allowed him to bile down the force fields. It gave the Adepts a lot less time to work with in the main base, chasing down those drones, although they still got a lot of good damage done. In fact, the Adept control was very good from Zoun in kind of a tough position, given how far you really had to shade to get in from the third base to the natural, to the main base, and then back into the natural. But still, there's some corners that were cut. They got punished. We didn't have a lair. It was only 3 Spore Crawlers there for Reynor.
Yeah.
And Zoun punished him for it. You don't really expect a DT follow-up to a build like that one, but Zoun made it work. And how many more tricks does he have up his sleeves?
You know, he's got, first of all, so many sleeves and so many tricks up them potentially. He looked kind of like, I mean, there's been a theme here, right? It's been, I don't want to play macro games. Even though we've seen Zoun do a lot of really good slow play games. Is he going to mix it up and bring out that slow Stargate tech? I could not have been more wrong with how I predicted the series to go. But really, it's been Reynor having to like be prepared for whatever explosive strategy, whatever crazy play Zoun is going to bring. And right now, if Zoun wins one more game, it's over. Reynor is in the loser's bracket, which is a crazy upset for this RSL.
Especially the way that Reynor played on day one. I mean, in the group stages, he was fantastic. He took down Classic and at least one more, I think it was Estrella, in like the 3 Protoss group with him. He's been training for ZVP. He only had to play ZVP last week. And now here he is against another Protoss player. I would look at that and be like, oh, this is perfect. You're playing in Zoun. You already dispatched Classic. Your ZVP, it's looking peak right now. This performance has been top-notch. And then Zoun just kind of rug pulls him.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again in this series. If game 1, the execution was a little bit better, this could have been a 3-0 already.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of crazy just seeing, it's frustrating for Reynor here. The way the series has gone so far, we've never seen the macro game from Reynor. It's always been like a Zerg that has either been stopped or almost been stopped here by the explosive stuff from Zoun here. I think we're going to be hopping into this game in a second.
Reynor apparently is fighting a Mutalisk
There's a
IRL.
fucking fly that keeps jumping on me, and I can't catch it.
I noticed that during game number 3, he was like doing this thing. He was like trying to swat something away.
That's so funny.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's always the worst.
Because I was like, what exactly is the problem here?
Well, I've had that moment sometimes when I'm on ladder and like my opponent pauses, because in Korea in the summer there's so many mosquitoes, right? And my opponent will pause.
So bad.
And I'm a nice guy. I'm not a trash human being. If my opponent pauses, they don't need to explain themselves. We can chill for a minute.
The same.
I will give you the moment.
I'll wait.
But sometimes it goes on like 2 minutes and I'm like, okay, bro, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then the moment they say Mogi, like mosquito, I'm like, dude, you got all the time. Kill that thing. I don't care if it takes 10 minutes. Mosquito
Mogi,
has to die.
The Korean word for mosquito. We didn't have that many mosquitoes this year, actually.
Yeah. It might signal a climate crisis, but my skin is grateful. I haven't been very itchy. I think I've gotten literally 1 bite this entire year.
Those nights when you're trying to sleep in Seoul, the summer heat is hard, and then you get a mosquito that goes in your ear, and you go, well, that's it. I'm going to have 2 hours of sleep tonight.
Yeah,
you turn the lights on in your room, and it's just bright, and the mosquito is not anywhere to be seen.
Yeah, Zoun also saying, we can wait, dude. Kill the fly. It's fine. Yeah, I remember my very first night in Korea. I remember I think I had just turned 19. I flew in like on my birthday. It was September 24th, and it was me and Illusion. We had just flown to the Startail house to train for the WCS 2012 Global Finals, which we both qualified through WCS America. And we're staying in this bunk bed in the Startail house in this very tiny room. And it's hot as hell. It's September. The summers are so hot and humid in Korea. If you've ever been to Florida, it's very similar to Florida in terms of climate.
Yeah, very muggy. Go ahead.
We're so claustrophobic. There's no air conditioning in the room. We open the window because, of course, right? Like at least the night cold is going to come in. It's still going to be humid as hell.
Weather. You're from like perfect.
I'll leave the screen open and everything in California too. No bugs are going to get in there. Maybe a spider or something. But yeah, we left it open. There was no screen. We woke up. I counted. It was over 24 mosquito bites on me. I went to the hospital. I literally got sick. Illusion was the same way. We were just completely covered in mosquito bites. And we went to like the coach and we're like, what the hell? He's like, did you leave the window open? And we're like, yeah. He's like, you guys are fucking idiots.
So
close
funny.
the window.
What are you doing?
But yeah, like it was.
Learn. See, I came from Kansas, so I was
it
like,
was crazy.
We've got mosquitoes there. We've got all the bugs.
I remember the second day.
The things that bite you in the night.
I went to the convenience stores, and mosquitoes are such a problem that you go to any convenience store in Korea and you can find the mosquito spray.
Yeah.
I walked in. And I gas the room. Like I close the door and I stick it only in my arm and I spray everything down. And I close the door. I use the whole can. And when I opened it back up again, the floor is just covered in mosquitoes. It was the most. Oh, it was terrible. I hated it. Anyway, yeah.
It was
Reynor,
glorious.
he's killed the fly, guys. We're going into game number 4.
The fly. It's going to be on the map. Evil Heart.
All this mosquito trauma
is
on the
map. Mosquito Heart.
Reemerged, dude. I'm getting like my adrenaline is pumping right now, flashing back to this moment. It was one of the worst times of my life, just getting completely plagued by mosquitoes for like 3 days straight.
No, it's the worst. By the way, we have a probe sent across the map here for an instant block. So he's going to be able to force the hatchery to go to where the third base would be. Now, this could just be, him doing a little bit of control play, but I also wonder, like, is there some kind of a push you can try to set up here? Some kind of way to dictate the course of this game by forcing this second hatcher to third base and then trying something else a little bit later on?
Yeah, I kind of like this decision here, especially on a map like Evil Heart. If you look at the third to third distance, it is really not very far. And additionally, this base has by far the fewest bases of any map I've seen in Legacy in the Void in like the entirety of the expansion, I want to say, which is like half the life cycle of StarCraft II. I am struggling to think of any map with this few bases. We've had such a macro-focused map pool, I think, dating even back to the early stages of Legacy.
I kind of welcome this.
Yeah, me too.
I think you need to have these maps that sort themselves out and bring the game to a direction. Not all of them, but, I think it's good. I think we had some of these in ASL 2 years ago. They started to get introduced, and I think they did make the games very kind of form themselves out pretty quickly. I also welcome maps where there's just a ton of bases. We've had plenty of those, maybe too many of those in the past in StarCraft II. So this is going to be a fun one to cast and see exactly how it's going to be approached. And, I guess when you're a Zerg player, one fear with this is that you don't have the elasticity of a crazy endless late game, right? You don't have bases after bases after bases to try to pressure, fumble, recover, expand. Because, you will have actually filled up your position pretty fast. And there is this inverse in the game where, Zerg's trying to grow quickly, but because as long as they're ahead of you, they're even, they'll run out of their bases on their side of the map. And we talk about it a lot in StarCraft II now, but it's one of the biggest concepts to understand in late and endgame is that, because Protoss or Terran as well need less bases, they usually end up getting the last space on the map, and it's always on their side of the map. And so a lot of games do come down to that.
Look at this, by the way. Another Twilight Council coming in from Zoun. Robo. I was going to say we're not getting the Robo, but this time we are.
Ooh, we're going to get the Robo State.
Is this going to be the same build
Only
again?
This time it's going to be 2 sentries in the Warp Prism.
Dude, it's Glaives again.
Oh, my God.
The fact that he's running it back a third game in a row is kind of wild.
When you see a magician and he's like, is this your card? And you're like, whoa, it's my card. And then, he's, shuffling the deck, and then he, makes it come out of your ear again. He's like, is it your card again? How are you doing this? Is he going to do it again?
It's the Sentry, too. He's going to energy recharge the Sentry.
You're leaving you're finished with the magic show. You're going to pay your tab at the restaurant, and then you pull out your card. It's his card again instead of your credit card. And you go, how's he doing this? This would be incredible. If Reynor got 3-0'd by the War Prism Rush, that would be insane.
Yeah, the Zergs will be having a very hard time on the ladder. I can basically guarantee that. This is all you're going to see for a long time if Zoun wins 3 games in a row with this build. And let's not forget that from Game 2 to Game 3, there was an adjustment. Game 2, it was just the pure play of the Adepts into the main base of the force field. And Game number 3, we had Dark Shrine mixed in, which really added on the damage. The early defense was better there by Reynor, but the follow-up DTs, they got Queens, they got Spore Crawlers, they got the Roach Warren, the Hatchery. They really set the game out of reach for Reynor. So what is the adjustment going to be here in game number 4? we have 2 additional gateways and a 3rd gas come in. So we might have a big gateway timing attack follow-up to this push.
Yeah, and this is going to be more of a basic type rush, but, if Reynor's, like, trying to protect versus DTs or other stuff, look, I want to see Reynor's face right now. So he's like, oh, my God, it's happening again.
All right.
I'm never going to get a hive in this series. He's going to move in. The first shade cancels. And, in fact, he may not commit with this at all. He might just kind of maybe do one more fake-out shade and then just do the big daddy push, the big Giga Chad push.
Yeah, it could be. More adepts are getting warped in right now. This is a ton of adepts, by the way. 6 gateways worth of adepts are being warped in on the map. Right on the doorstep here of Reynor, as we have some positioning come in. A little bit of a supply block right now for Reynor, but those Overlords about to finish, so it shouldn't be too consequential. And for Reynor, he's playing this on a very low drone count. Yes, he does have a 3rd base, but if you look at the income there in the bottom right of the screen, there isn't really any bars, like the blue arrows that point up to the top or the red arrows that point down to the bottom, signaling a mineral income difference. The ecos are basically equal just because it's basically 2-base saturation for both players. And now we have so many adepts going into the main base. He does cancel this shade, so he's not going to try and use the concave on the high ground. Instead, just continue snowballing the adepts. And this is looking a little bit scary right now, Tasteless. That is a massive number of units.
Yeah, nice force field. Only gets 1 Ravager. In fact, did he save the sentry? I think he picked it up.
Sentry gets saved, and so does the Ravager also of those vials.
Okay, he's going to come down here. He targets down the first queen. The second one is going to go as well. Perfect shade over here. He's opened up this position in the natural as he's going to try to go into the main. You can see the surface area is actually not bad for the adepts. They do eat a lot of corrosive vials as they shade up into the main. There is another warpin that's coming in here to try to hit the natural, and so the rotation of adepts is very deliberate here from Zoun. He's going to have those few adepts up here in the natural. He's got 2 that really can't do that much over here now, and it seems like Reynor holds it off as we're seeing everything else begin to retreat.
Yeah, considering how committed this push was from Zoun, just immaculate defense by Reynor. He lost very few drones, I think 9 in total. It might look like a lot because he's down at 35 right now, but Zoun, this is everything. That was 6 gateways worth of adepts. He isn't taking a 3rd base. He hasn't been building probes for a hot minute right now. The first unit that he's made that hasn't been an adept in the last couple of minutes is this first Immortal. That's about to get cranked out. And so, yeah, Zoun for a brief moment did have an economic lead because of the damage he got done, but it was not worth the army that he traded. If he wants to win this game, he needs to get more done with the follow-up push.
He's not rallied the Immortal, but he's also not making probes, so this is going to be a push that he tries to close the game out with, but I guess he wants to pocket that. I guess he doesn't want to show this. Maybe it's kind of a tempo play. Like, it looks kind of like he's just buying time.
Yeah, and 2 more gateways in production, but I must say I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know if those gateways are even going to be able to be fully utilized here by Zoun because the main base is going to start mining out relatively soon here. We're nearing the 8-minute mark right now, and that main base has been fully saturated this entire time. Okay, 3rd base in production, so I like that.
So he might want to basically mine out the main base and just do a swap with the workers.
Mm-hmm.
And then just try to use this to be the engine of the push. What a crazy series so far. Zoun kind of doing the same opening, but now on the 3rd branch. So he's just showing the adepts. He's got 3 Immortals behind this that he hasn't shown. Now, a lot of times you see the pushes happen with the first Immortal, and that kind of prompts you to be ready for the second. He's got the Warp Prism coming over here now. Now, there's no way to go in the main. In fact, it really wouldn't make any sense. We have Evo Chambers starting.
Evo Chamber and
a Baneling Nest, excuse me.
And I like this choice by Zoun to make the 3rd base, by the way. This is not him transitioning into a mid or late game. In fact, the first probe that's been queued up in a long time just started here on the production tab. This is more, as Tasteless pointed out, Zoun freeing up more mineral patches for his now oversaturated main base. It's just going to boost the mineral income to have a little bit more power behind the push. And he's trying to also signal to Reynor, hey, look at me, I'm expanding, I'm taking a 3rd base, there's a transition coming. He's still hiding the Immortals on the right side of the screen.
And remember, it's been so many roaches. Now, Banes are starting. It's only 5. Banes are going to be very good versus the Adepts. They're going to be terrible against the Immortals.
And a Robo-Bay behind this, too. Okay, Immortals did get spotted there by Reynor with these Lings. The Robo-Bay is a very interesting choice coming in from Zoun. I guess if Reynor spends all of his gas onto Ravagers. There isn't really a meaty target for the Immortals to chew through anymore if there's no more Roaches, if it's just Ravager Ling. So the Robobane, maybe we add in some Colossus to get some anti-light damage? Although we do have the Adepts. It's interesting.
Well, I guess he sees the Banes and he goes, okay, well, maybe we do need to switch into Colossus. Could he get Disruptor? I guess it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the Immortals are there to kill the Roaches. And, Disruptors are great against Roach Ravager because they chunk up so much. It is going to be Disruptors. Okay. I kind of thought it was going to be Colossus as well.
Yeah, no, I also completely just misread the situation. I thought that we weren't going to have much of a transition from this push. I thought this really was just going to culminate in a timing attack, and the third base is just extra mineral patches for the mined out main workers.
Well, it seems like he wants to play a really tight game.
Yeah.
And I guess they both have to. I mean, as you can see, Zerg's almost out of map. 2 more bases to take here.
Oh, I'm looking at the minimap right now. There has been an observer this entire time at the junction between the natural and the third base of Reynor. So I think that Zoun just noticed Reynor never really stopped producing army. He's been staying on a very low drone count. He's only at 58 at 10 minutes and 40 seconds into the game, and that was probably the signal flare that's like, okay, let's not attack into this. Yeah. Let's let Reynor attack into us. And that makes a lot of sense to transition to Disruptor. They're going to be very useful here defensively.
Okay. There's going to be a small number of Adepts that are going to counterattack. There are, there's Lings to defend over the natural. We actually missed something, but there was a lot of damage over there on some of those Roaches and Ravagers. I think a Disruptor shot hit. The force fields are fantastic. It is an uncomfortable fight over here for Reynor. He needs to get closer in here where most of his Roach Ravager can actually do damage. Some of the Immortals are kind of sticking out on the outside here. Same with this Disruptor that's going to be killed before it can actually get its shot off.
Yeah, the gateway units are standing strong here on the left side, but the right position has collapsed here for Zoun, having to retreat into the natural expansion. It looks like he's going to be able to hold nonetheless. Linkstalkers moving forward right now, chasing down these surviving units as Disruptor gets started there by Zoun and then cancels it. I wonder if he's going to commit fully to the counterattack here, Tasteless.
Yeah, the question is the counterattack going to be an overextension? Supplies are virtually the same right now, 100 to 107. But, Reynor doesn't have a lot that he's working with. And this is a pretty tiny map. If he could get over here, and by the way, the most important thing in this push is going to be the Warp Prism. You cannot lose that. The Rush is going to die if the Warp Prism's hit, so he has to keep it back, which means it's going to be harder to juggle with it. He's got 1 Immortal and 1 Disruptor. It's too bad the other Immortals were picked off in that fight, but that's what happens when you don't have the Warp Prism there to help. Another nice Disruptor shot.
Yeah, shaving away 1 more Roach. 4 Adepts are going to shade here into the natural expansion, and that opens up the position to attack here into the third, but the Banelings get very good connections on the clumped up Adepts. Zoun, I think, was microing there. The natural expansion did not have time to split his forces, and that's going to prompt a retreat. Behind this, you look at the income right now for Zoun. He had 1,600 minerals in the bank a moment ago, but basically no gas. So he's taking additional guys at this third base. I almost wouldn't be surprised to see him take a fourth just because the mineral income is so high. Instead, no, it's going to be static defense. He's going to try and play a defensive game, perhaps anticipating a counterattack here by Reynor.
By the way, there is almost nothing mining at the fourth base here. This has been such a low econ game. He just now got some of these drones that we see over there. He's trying to just pick off this 1 spare drone. And, Reynor, he can power up with Roach Ravager, with Lings here as well. But I don't think that Reynor can come across the map just yet and try to slam Zoun here. What do you think?
I'm feeling the same way, but I think if Zoun goes for a fourth base, then suddenly the opportunities open up here for Reynor, because look at the map architecture of the map. The fourth base, no matter which one Zoun chooses, is going to be a wide open field where Roaches, Ravagers, and Banelings, not even counting all the tons of +1 Lings that are going to be on the map, can just absolutely ravage these bases. Reynor, I think that is what he's waiting for. He knows that the natural expansion also is starting to mine out. Looking at the mineral patches here on the minimap, I only see 4. Yeah, it's already halfway mined out. The main base has been halfway mined out for a very long time. And so Zoun, he's basically fully saturated with only 55 workers, but even that isn't going to last that long.
Yeah, Reynor has not taken a 5th base. I don't think that he needs to, by the way. The games that are this, I should really say maps, create games that are like this, where it really feels like, growth has to be very, very measured. It's not like these maps where you're far away where you can kind of get a lead and throw 2 more bases down or even 3 more bases down and try to press that, because You know, you can counterattack so quickly on maps like this. So as Protoss takes the fourth, it looks like Reynor, well, he kind of ventured up there, but he's going to turn around now. He might actually grab everything else that he has and try to hit the 2 locations at once. This is going to be very tough for Protoss to defend.
Yeah, there is a lot of static defense here at the third base, so if Reynor decides to use this Ling Baneling squadron that he has hanging back right now for a counterattack at the third of Protoss, he's got to be really careful to use those Banelings wisely. Is he going to go for that counterattack, or is he instead going to try and get a surround on this army? Is the Nexus actually did get killed there?
Did it get killed?
I think so. I mean, we're seeing the wreckage on the ground, so it couldn't have been a cancel.
Good point. Yeah, so that actually does go down. I like the 2 Adepts coming down here and just killing off a couple of drones. And we got a counterattack here from Zoun. I don't feel like this is safe, but we really got to see, like, do the Banelings connect? Like, what does this fight actually look like? Good blink away.
I think Zoun has correctly identified if the game goes later than this, he probably can't win. And maybe trying to win in this situation is an uphill battle, but you might as well go for it.
Oh, the disruptor shots are really good.
Yeah, those Ravagers very low on HP. He's going to blink forward. I like that on top of the low HP Ravagers. Force Field's also completely sectioning off this army. The Biles are going to open up the position right now for the Banelings to get in. Blink on a lot of these Stalkers still on cooldown. This split here from Zoun has been good.
I don't know, man. These Banes need to do a little bit more damage, and he's going to blink away as they connect in. Reynor is at 137 supply here. There's more Lings coming out, but the army complexity has also greatly gone down. Another blink in. Is this reminiscent of game 1 here where he dove in a little bit too fast? I think it is.
Yeah, that blink forward not really being rewarded here as the economy for Zoun behind this is in tatters. There's very little income as the third base, I think, might even be starting to mine out shortly here. The main is completely void of minerals. Zoun is going to have to expand out of the fourth base behind all of this, but I'm not sure that transition is going to be viable. Reynor, he might have canceled the high tech, but if he didn't, he has so many options at his disposal right now. 65 drones. He's securing a fifth base all the way down to this 5 o'clock position here on this map.
It just seems like Zoun is obsolete right now.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I don't think there's really a lot he can do.
29 out of 14 on that third base. That's so painful.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. Well, I think that Reynor can wind up for another attack and probably just deny the third base. You know, there's not much more as far as income that Protoss is going to have. The second base is going to mine out. Think about how many games we've casted, how long they go, and then how few bases this one has had.
Yeah, although it's been very fun, I must say. I think Killswitch and Evil Heart being voted in by our patrons has been... It's created so many unique games because we usually don't get maps that are this aggressive. They're a little bit unorthodox, and it's been so fun to see these play out. As it is here in game number 4, it looks like Reynor is finally getting ready to push Zoun out of this game. That fourth base only halfway done. I don't think it's ever going to reach completion as Reynor comes in on all sides right now. A big surround. Zoun retreating into the static defense. It's fantastic positioning. The force fields are beautiful, but Reynor just has a little bit too much, Tasteless.
GG. Reynor takes it. We're tied up 2-2.
Maybe that fly was the problem all along there for Reynor. It's been taken out.
I forgot about the fly.
It's been taken out, and now he's on a better footing.
You know, I wonder, are we going to have another weird War Prison build again here? I mean, there's only so many versions versions of this that you can bring out. But it's all kind of within the same theme. This is all, I don't want to play late game versus Zerg. It's all, I need to close this out one way or another. When the Zerg is trying to make too many drones or they're trying to take a base, that's when we're going to hit. And generally, when you have two players of like roughly the same skill, if this keeps happening over and over again, the player that's defending will start to hold it, right? It becomes too obvious.
Yeah, I do like the adjustments that Zoun is making from game to game. It's really forcing Reynor to think on his feet. If he overdroned even a little bit in that game number 4, this would have been a 3-1 victory for Zoun. But instead, Reynor with some pretty clutch defense right there, just getting a perfect read on the situation and really respecting the threat that Mass Adepts pose on a map as aggressively positioned as Evil Heart. I mean, the third to third base distance is very short. Taking a fourth base is a Herculean task against some of these aggressive builds. We're going to be going to ley lines, a standard map here for set number 5. match point on both sides. The winner of this upcoming map is going to be advancing to face Cure in the upper bracket semifinals. The loser is not out of the RSL Season 2, but they will fall into that lower bracket. And Zoun, he has done 3 versions of kind of the same build, just with a little bit of a twist every single time.
Right.
I like it. I actually think it makes a lot of sense against a player like Reynor, who looks to be absolutely deadly in the mid game and the late game in ZVP right now. I think it makes sense for Zoun to try and knock him off balance early on and just be like, you know what? I have these very specific, unorthodox strategy prepared. You have to deal with this. We're not going to play your game where you get to go up to a maxed army supply, 80, 90 drones, 5, 6 bases, and power up the way that you want to, Reynor. You have to play this down and dirty mud wrestle with me. So far, it has brought him to a 2-2, but can he run it back again here on ley lines? Can he throw another wrench into the works? We're going to find out. Zoun spawning as the blue Protoss here in the top right, Reynor the red Zerg in the bottom left.
So we've got the first probe headed out on the map here to block off the hatchery. It's all going to come down to this, guys. This is the last game of the evening. I'm glad we ended up getting a little bit more value, more game time out of this series. The first one was a 3-0. I'm glad we got to Game 5 here for this one. And I guess the big question is going to be, is it going to be another timing attack? You know, something with Warp Prisms, something with Blink Stalkers, or is this going to be our first proper macro ZVP?
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch this whole series unravel, honestly, because we're basically getting a deep dive into the theory of 4-gate Adept Glaives, which historically has just been one of the least fun strategies.
Well, usually they either end the game right away or they get owned. And it's like, well, all right, this is going to be a pitiful game from Protoss from here on out, but these have actually been pretty action-packed.
Yeah, these have been... They haven't been, if you're a fan of macro games, they haven't been the most riveting experience, but in terms of just unorthodox gameplay and forcing Reynor to think on his feet and all these little twists and turns that Zoun has prepared at the different branches these builds can go, it has been so much fun. I feel like these have been probably the best executed 4-gate glaive builds that I've seen in a very long time. It's a refreshing... It's a refreshing new perspective on the way that build should work.
You know, if you wanted to teach somebody some advanced builds, this would be a good series because you can show somebody, okay, here's a Warp Prism Adept play. Now here's a variation of that. Here's another variation of that. You know, and then you kind of see how each one plays out. And okay, so if this fails, here's sort of what you do. It might be losing from this position, but you still can try to create some advantages by trying this or that. I think the most famous first example of this in StarCraft II was Squirtle's group, where Artosis and I casted this, and he must have had like 7 or 8 build orders that all started out the same way, and then they went into different directions. It was in a group stage.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was versus Terran. I can't remember. Maybe it was versus Zerg, but he basically did the same opening, and then each time it transitioned into something different. So, like, you just were never sure what exactly they were going to do.
Do you know if that was the same GSL that he played
MVP in the finals?
MVP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might go back. I was actually... God, I'm such a nerd. I was rewatching that finals a couple of weeks ago.
It's a great finals.
To kind of get me ramped up for RSL again. I'm like, let's go back to the glory days. Let's watch some of the best StarCraft II that's ever been played.
It's like one of the most iconic moments in StarCraft II is like the mothership uses the... what was that called? The vortex or whatever. Yeah, the suck on the battlecruise.
For me, it's always the toilet.
Artosis and me can't even cast. We just go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We just do that over and over.
It's such a pure moment.
And I have my vocal cords blown out because I didn't know how to project my voice. I was like, he's going for the vortex. Oh my God, Artosis. Well, here we go. If it isn't our old friend, the Robo.
Are we going to have...
And his best buddy, the Glaives upgrade.
Yeah, I wonder... Bear with me for a moment, because we've seen 3 different variants. I'm actually going to go ahead and pause it. We don't even need to see a 4th variant here. You've shown 3 different ways this can play out. Just go back to one of them.
Go back to the first one.
Just pick one of these cards and play it again.
It's going to be DTs.
Yeah, the DTs I would like to see again. I feel like that's a hard adjustment to make. And also, if Reynor tries to cover all of the bases, it has to be very clean. Because if he doesn't, then, you know, like say you go into a lair to try and deal for potential DTs as a follow-up, well then suddenly you might be a little bit stretched thin in terms of do you have enough resources to deal with the initial adepts with the force field, right? There's a lot of different ways it could go. And the fact that Reynor really hasn't had time to workshop responses to this. He has to think on his feet. He's been doing that this entire series, and in a way, he kind of has been workshopping the response over the course of this best of 5. It's hard to make sure that you're making all of the right choices here as Reynor, right? He's going for the same response that he did before. It is the 3 Spore Crawlers. I feel like the timing is a little bit different than before. We have additional gases coming in from Zoun. Are we going to have that Dark Shrine get thrown down? We do have the gas for it.
Okay, I don't see it yet. Was there a, I think there's a sentry in there.
Oh, certainly. I don't even need a...
Mafu
doesn't have to click on it. We just know.
There's one zealot in there. You're like, okay, that's weird. All right, here we go. Is the 4th time the charm?
Oh, Immortal immediately. I guess it is going to be a fourth build.
Well, we got to see. He might just make 4 Immortals and just do this again.
Yeah, but with the additional gases coming in at this timing, I wonder if we're going to have, like, a throwback to, like, a Soul Train kind of push. By the way, those force fields just completely whiffing. Will we have any sentries warped in back at home? Oh, it's going to be Blink and +1.
Forge. Okay, yeah, +1 here. Again, a little bit of a different kind of push, but, you know, he hasn't really scratched Reynor just yet.
Yeah, and what this push does, even if you don't commit to actually shading in on any of these bases, is it really slows the game down. Also, oh my goodness, that Observer just barely out of range of those biles.
Just doing barrel rolls in between the biles.
It's very tricky when it's a cloak unit because you can't see the flyer helper that indicates where you have to bile to actually kill the thing. So a bit of a shot in the dark there by Reynor. Okay, we do have some adepts, 5 adepts getting shaded here into the 3rd base, but only 2 drones falling. Yeah. I like the move, but it did not pay off there for Zoun as he takes a 3rd base, continues probing up, +1 Immortals. We do have a Dark Shrine also underway.
Well, you know, he's kept Zerg on 3 bases. The pressure's been real. I think there was a bit of an overextension with the adepts, but well, hold on. These Lings are going to counterattack, and he could just get a deny on this Nexus. Oh my god, you need to have those adepts where the warping is happening. You can't leave them outside like that.
Yeah, or just flush against the Nexus or something.
Yeah.
Give the Sentry an opportunity to save them with force fields. Instead, we have 7 adepts that have fallen over the last, 2 minutes for like a Ling or 2 and 2 drones. It is not very good. And Zoun is just getting every single Twilight tech possible, by the way. He got Glaives, he got Blink, he's getting the Dark Shrine, he's getting the High Templars right now. It's kind of wild, especially considering the 3rd base only just now finished here for Zoun, that he has this many tech structures, that he has Glaives, that he's about to have Blink. You very rarely see this. I can't even remember the last game that I casted where we had so much heavy Twilight Council tech this early on.
Gonna go up into that storm. So I guess this was sort of the opening without any pressure behind it. Let's just develop. Let's maybe let the Zerg take a 4th base much later while we can sit on our 3rd and kind of leverage that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the previous 3 games set up in some way to make Reynor paranoid and think that, okay, I have to brace for an attack that's probably going to be coming in the pipeline because that's what Zoun has been doing every single game with this build. But as it is, that's not the situation. Zoun is instead developing up. He's fully saturated now on 3 bases after passing that 66 worker mark. And Reynor has not taken the bait. He is droned up heavily. He's taking a 4th base. He's going well past 70 drones with 3 more in production. He's getting the Hive Tech. He's getting Hydralisk Den. Everything is coming online right now for Zerg. And I feel like this is very promising here for Reynor. Yes, Zoun was able to slow the game down a little bit, but to what end? He hasn't really been able to eke out any advantage as a result of that.
That's true. He hasn't forced out that many units, I don't think. He didn't kill that many drones. And organically, the Zerg does max out here. They will need to dump some of the supply, probably by attacking into the Protoss. And then we're going to get to this Lurker tech and Hydras. And probably some pretty sharp pushes here from the Zerg.
And the Stargate tech now also coming in for Zoun. I'm tempted to say this isn't even for some kind of Carrier or Tempest transition yet. It might even just be for Oracles to have that persistent detection on the Lurkers, because I don't see a way that he supports gas production for the units that he's got already. a Dark Shrine, High Templar Archives, all of these Stalkers, the sentries that he's made, getting Glaives, getting +2 charge. Literally every Twilight Council tech possible has been researched. I mean, charge is about to be finished, for God's sake. And with the 4th base coming in, up until this point, it's been only 6 gases, right, Tasteless? So the Stargate's done. We're not going to have any late game transition come in yet from Zoun. Instead, I'm expecting a lot of Zealots.
Yeah, I think he's going to fill that in here. Protoss is moving out, going to hit 6 o'clock. We've got Lings and Roaches for a counterattack or a flank. He's going to come in here now. Guardian Shield's procced. Oh, those some Biles fields actually connect pretty nicely.
Yeah, the Biles and the Force Fields both getting a lot of damage done. Now, these Lurkers are on the field, but Lurker range only just now getting researched. We do have a counterattack right now. Reynor, it looks like he's probably going to be able to get a cancel here, and Zoun desperately needed gas number 7 and number 8 because he's trying to get the second Stargate done with the Fleet Beacon. I said that you probably can't afford it. I think if the 4th base gets canceled like this, you certainly cannot.
No, it's not sustainable unless you're going to have only carriers and then just only Zealots, which is probably not going to cut it. So he's going to come down here now and try to hit this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, like, maybe from this stage, if we can keep the core gas units alive, the Immortals, the Sentries, the Stalkers, the Templar, then maybe you can just warp in Zealots for the next 2 or 3 minutes and get some carrier production online, but it is not easy to manage this economy from Zoun. It doesn't have a lot of opportunities.
Okay, little counterattack in over here with the Zealots.
Tempest.
Oh, it's going to be Tempest. I guess I kind of decided it had to be carriers here. Oh, I love the placement of that Warp Prism. It's just far away enough.
He knows it so well.
Yeah. He's like, nope. I got to get a couple pixels over here.
All right, 4 Zealot warping here in the main base as Zoun continues to test the waters. And although Zoun isn't getting much damage done with this pressure, he is keeping Reynor contained on 5 bases, which is very good news here for Zoun because Reynor is also trying to play a very gas-intensive style. As long as Zoun can secure this 4th base, and I'm a little bit worried as we see another counterattack getting mustered over here in the top left corner of the map.
We've got the Nidus coming up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be a moment where I think it's going to finally be Reynor's turn to unleash hell. Storm's coming down here, going to take out some of those Lings on the side. Is there an Overseer or an Overlord hidden somewhere? I don't see a spot where you can easily do this. He might actually just do like a Nidus in the push just to reinforce.
I think he's just waiting for Overlord speed. I think it's a very calculated decision to start Overlord speed the same time you basically start the Nidus network.
Yeah,
because
makes sense.
Then those Overseers, you can see 2 of them right now in the bottom right of the screen. I think 1 all the way here in the top left. Yeah, Mampu pointing that out. And these are going to be so speedy right now. He can just set up a Nidus Canal basically anywhere that he wants on Zoun's side of the map.
Okay. The Nidus is going to be right here at the natural. That's going to pull the army away from the 4th base. And positionally, this is going to be a nightmare here for Zoun. You know, that air weapons upgrade is actually happening right out here at the periphery. He's going to hit. The Tempest can do damage, but they're not going to kill things too fast. Oh my god, the Ravager's really eating a crazy amount of those Psy Storms. We've got action in the main here as well. Oh, excuse me, that's the second Nidus that was made over there.
Nidus gets taken out. There's so many Lurkers here that this Nexus has no chance of surviving. But actually, look at this. These Zealots getting a lot of damage done right now. Reynor did send the Lings to clean it up, but 13 drones are going to fall. Reynor down to 59 workers, actually. The economy here for Zoun isn't great. Even though he's on 73 probes, he doesn't have much economy because that 4th base got denied. And he's actually going to be coming in here with a counterpunch. Reynor lost a lot of Ravagers with that initial push. Some Lurkers are very bruised as well.
We got the attack coming up here now. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to fight the Tempests. And it's hard to, you know, man, this is rough. Reynor going to be chased away. I think we have another Nidus network happening at 12 o'clock at that 5th, which I think I accidentally called a 4th a second ago, but that is the 5th base.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the answer is to the Tempest here for Reynor. It feels like he just doesn't even have enough supply free because the lurker count is so high,
yeah,
right?
He's got 9 Corruptors making, but, you know, this is a lot of Tempests. I think it's like 7 or something, so... And there's more making. Or there was more made, excuse me. He's actually got an Oracle that just popped out now.
All right, going up to 13 Corruptors. That should be enough to deal with this Tempest. 4th base will survive. 5th base now getting thrown down by Zoun here in the top left side of the map. More static defense also coming in, as I think Zoun's probably a little bit annoyed He's annoyed of these Nidus networks. He's trying to set up the cannons in position to basically catch all of them. But oh no, these Templar. Oh man,
my God.
I'm getting flashbacks to parting, miswalking with the Colossi and GSL, dude. It's the same thing. So many Templar just get cleaned up for free because Zoun wasn't expecting them to path on that bottom side. Oh, things were going so well for Zoun until that moment, but Reynor, oh, he is not one to miss that opportunity. He seizes it, and now he's going to lay siege to this fourth base once again.
Okay, he's going to attack it again. And, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any easy spot. No air weapons upgrade to try to punish and take away there. More Corruptors are going to be made. I mean, the thing is, Zoun is still growing on the map. And you can see that really Reynor's being very cautious to not overextend. I love the Ling dive here. And could he have gotten that? I felt like he actually could have gotten that. It might have been worth it to get it. I guess he's going to know better than me, but I thought he was going to commit down onto that.
Oh, 2 more Stargates in production, Tasteless. We're going to have 4 Stargate from Zoun? After the next fight, is he just going to remax on air? This is wild. I feel like even the macro game from Zoun is so unorthodox. Like, he has some of the key pieces, but the way that he gets there is just very unique.
Okay, he takes this Nexus out again. And this is going to be a Cybernex core shutdown.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, he is going to siege it down once more.
The battery's like, going to save it. I've got you.
I thought for a moment that Reynor might just retreat from that position. I had a fear of the Tempest perhaps coming down. All right, another Zealot counterattack here. Actually taking down the central hatchery from Reynor just off screen, as well as getting a lot of worker kills there in the third base. I mean, 8 drones, it might not feel like a lot at this stage in the game. I suppose it isn't because these bases are mostly mined out, but we're getting into a relatively low economy territory. It's 4 base versus 4 base at 16 minutes. And we have so many Tempest, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's got, you know, the issue always when you see an army that looks like what Zoun has is that it's slow. It's scary and it's hard to engage, but you can hit in other places. And I mean, Zoun in this game is also doing a good job, like we just see here with the Zealots, setting a small little force out there and trying to take this out. So once again, the Nexus is going to fall. I don't know what the mineral situation is at the few Protoss bases on the map, but you know, he will eventually mine these out. He has to take these positions. So the Nexus is going to be remade there. I think it would be wise to make like 10 cannons there.
Yeah, he just needs to get that base up. The gas income is starting to run a little bit thin for Zoun, especially as he warps in Templar 4 at a time and tries to power up with 4 Stargates in reserve. And so he's going to be double expanding right now. Reynor is able to catch one of these, also going to use the vision to set up a Nidus Canal here in the central location. And with 2,600 minerals, I'm right there with you. Just throw down some cannons and some batteries. Buy yourself a couple of seconds because these bases are running very thin on resources.
Yeah, we have, again, another attack here with the Lings coming up. The Mothership is going to be in the mix as this gets chased back. Zoun with, you know, this very death bally army, but, you know, if he commits somewhere, he will be sacrificing another position.
Oh, the Archon count is actually so high. That's 8 Archons in total, and Reynor is going to be trying to surround this position on every side. The Corruptors are finding good connections right now onto the Tempest. Detection is here for Reynor. Corruptor is able to take down the majority of the fleet on the right side. Zoun is winning on the ground. The Lurkers have been taken care of, but these Corruptors, they are falling now to these Archons. More Immortals coming in from the north. Is there detection? Yes, there is. Reynor's getting cleaned up on the ground. A big grin from him. And Zoun is remaxing on Tempest, producing them 3 at a time. Reynor just spent his entire bank, and he's still only 135 supply.
Yeah, and I think this may be the moment where Reynor's going to fall. We have a couple Hydras and Lynx coming in here. The Zealots need to get into the front because every Immortal, every Archon, every Tempest is so valuable right now. And, you know, from this point, Zoun has now separated Reynor from his 2 sources of income, the 2 bottom bases at 6.
Man, Zoun just with an insane game right now. Even recalling right now, he might lose 1 Tempest. Indeed, 1 does fall.
He's just going to regroup and attack it again. He knows he's basically got this.
Yeah, it's just a brilliant decision there from Zoun. Why would you risk overextending in a position like this one? You just secured your 5th base. You're able to saturate that one up. With your Zealot counterattacks, you know that Reynor's economy has been in shambles for a long time. The one way you lose this game as Zoun from this position is, say Reynor was able to remax on even more units. Oh my God. Look at all these zealots! All right, Corruptors might be able to take down that Nexus. Actually, the Tempests are going to be able to clean that up. This hatchery's going to fall. There's no economy. Oh, Reynor, hands off the keyboard. GG, well played.
Whoa.
What a series.
Dude, Zoun played amazingly.
Both players, that was incredible. Zoun, we had four Adept Glaive builds that all branched off in very different ways. I mean, imagine being Reynor in that position. You keep seeing basically the same hand getting played in the early game every single time, but the follow-up is just different. And how do you concoct the perfect response in a best-of-5 series like this one? Zoun had so many variants prepared. We saw, I think, probably all 4, because he had that Blinkstalker build predetermined. He's like, you know what? On one of these aggressive maps, I'm just going to use that. That'll be the one non-4-gate Glaive build that I use.
Well, it was just he came out and, you know, after all these high-risk, high-volatility plays with the Warp Prism Adept play, in the final game, he just goes, I'm actually macroing behind this. I'm actually attacking, and I'm going to be in a healthy position. And I'm going to get these Tempests. I'm going to try to defend, and eventually I'm going to get into a position where we have to have a fight. He handled it really well. The Archons make it basically impossible to kill the Tempest. The Hydras are not going to be able to kill the Tempest. You can play keep away there. So you get forced into making these Corruptors, and then, you know, we all know in StarCraft, air units bunch up, especially when they're fighting, and that's when the Archon blasts just wipe everything out.
Yeah, Reynor, he was able to win the air battle there in that final battle, but the ground army from Zoun was just insane, especially with the Immortals coming in to reinforce. He had so many more than I realized. Because there was action all over the map, we never really got a shot of just his army. But by the end, it felt like it was nothing but Immortals, Archons, Tempest, and Templar. It's like all of the most clutch Protoss units in a late game he had. There was no chaff. It was just pure power.
So we're going to be having Kier versus Zoun here in the winners, and SHIN versus Reynor in the losers. You do not want to miss out on that. We are finally out of the group stages like we did last week and into the best-of-5 winners bracket, losers bracket format of the RSL.
Yeah, what an awesome day of StarCraft II. Kier showing some really phenomenal TVZ stuff, and then Zoun. I mean, Reynor played very well in that series too. They went to game number 5. He was looking good even in the final map. He didn't take the bait. When Zoun went for the same play and was greedy behind it, Reynor recognized the situation. He transitioned, but just the trickiness of Zoun. I love it because Reynor, we saw him earlier on in a group with Classic, Astray, and SOS. He was able to take all of them out. He emerged first place in that group. He beat Classic, the best Protoss player in the world right now. And Zoun sees that. He's like, nah, I'm not going to let you play your game. I'm going to go 4-gate Glaives, 4 maps in a row. So sick.
So, can we get the next scene up here? Yeah, we're going to get to the next day of games tomorrow, guys. We're going to be on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I got to say, man, it's been so fun doing Season 2 of RSL. Season 1, you know, there's always a couple of hiccups. Anytime you try to build it like a studio and put on a new show, there's always challenges. But this one has been so smooth and so fun. So feel free to join us. It's going to be going live at 7 p.m. KST, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we also have Season 3 just around the corner.
And not just Season 3. In December of this year, there is going to be an offline finals. And you see right there, travel and accommodation for the champions, because we are going to have players in the studio. We are going to have casters in the studio. And not just this studio. We are going to be getting a big arena for everybody. We're going to have a live audience. If you're on Patreon or if you want to buy tickets, you can come down, show up, watch a live StarCraft 2 in Seoul, Korea. Just phenomenal stuff, man. I am so excited.
It's been a real undertaking for us. I don't think we've ever really seen this, like from this not existing to where we're planning on ending it at the end of the year with a live esports event in Seoul. Basically an offline finals, 15 million won to give away to the prize pool. We'll have more information on that as we finish booking and staffing the venue. We are also sponsored by Archon Studio. They're the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game developer. They're going to be having their product on sale, or sorry, on pre-sale, I should say, around the end of this year. We don't have any exact dates on that, but their products are incredible. Go to their website, see what they've got. They've got stuff for some of my other favorite franchises, and we are truly blessed to have them making this super sick StarCraft tabletop miniatures game around the holiday season.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without the support of Archon Studios, and we certainly couldn't do it without you. We have had so much support from the StarCraft II community. So many of you have already joined us on Patreon, and if you haven't, we invite you to join our community as well. There are all sorts of good perks and rewards. You can vote on maps like the maps that we saw here, like Kill Switch. These aggressive maps that are very fun and offbeat and unorthodox, and you can get players invited into the RSL. And it is truly because of your support that we're able to put this whole show on, in addition to the live event at the end of the year. So sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. If you want to support the RSL, Patreon is the best way to do it.
Yeah, and we've also got merch if you want to rep what we're doing here. 20% discount, by the way, if you are a Patreon supporter. Go to my merch shop at tastelessthreads.com. We've got all sorts of designs and items for the tournament. We've also just got other cool stuff if you want to buy something esports related, RTS related, gaming related, nerd culture related. We got all sorts of stuff there.
Yeah, and you know it's good stuff because I see Tasteless wearing it all the time when he's not on camera. He wears his own merch. Guys, check out youtube.com/ReviveSC2. If you're already watching on YouTube, thank you for supporting us there. But we're trying to grow this thing and kind of push it into the algorithms of everybody else. And that doesn't work unless people engage with the thing. So even if you watch this live, if you could drop by the Revive SC2 YouTube channel, just give it a like, maybe give it a comment, hit the subscribe button. It'll help us get the word out because I'm constantly surprised that people don't really know this is going on. And I guess RSL's been a little bit under the radar if you're not completely plugged into StarCraft II like a lot of the fans watching on Twitch are right now. And we would love to get the word out and share these games with more people.
Yeah, I think the people that know are people that check like StarCraft news sites, but the truth is a lot of people don't check those anymore. You know, it's really up to the algorithm to feed them these new tournaments and important events that are happening, you know. And so if we get enough traction on YouTube, this will be fed to all the people who are just like us, just like you at home, excuse me. So yeah, like we said, all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, turn the bell notifications on.
Oh, the bell!
What did you think of those corruptors? Let me know in the comments. So yeah.
It's been a great day at StarCraft, man.
Yes, it's been an amazing day. That's all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.